The following program contains mature language and spoilers. Listener discretion advised. Hey everybody, welcome to the Marvel Superhero DC.
It'll probably be a DC
Welcome to the
again.
DC Superheroes Podcast. Illegal Machine with me is
Mr. Fixit
and
Diabolu Frank.
And today we're talking about the DC Cinematic Universe debut of Justice League, starring Ben Affleck, not Henry Cavill, because I don't want to spoil anything.
Oh, yeah.
Gal Gadot, Sheldon from
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory.
Where's Sheldon?
I thought he played Flash.
No. Oh, I get it now. Okay.
Did you see that? Holy shit. We franked him, dude. He just straight hold Frank that.
He just transcended the astral plane trying to understand that joke.
Dude, that was a strange moment right there. That where you literally fell into your body. It was spectacular.
Well, it's like there was so much going on in this movie so quickly. There very well could have been that guy could have been in this movie somewhere. I was also thinking he was in Hidden Figures and blah blah blah. So yeah.
Who else was in this movie? Oh,
by the way, the fellow's actual name is Ezra Miller.
Kyle Drogo is as Namor, and
Jason Momoa. Yeah.
And
I'm not going to correct you on that. It's Namor.
Who is the African American fellow in this film?
Ray Fisher.
Ray Fisher.
and then the Wonder Woman.
I already said Gal Gadot.
I know.
Amy Adams is Lois Lane.
Amy Adams is Lois Lane. You got J. Jonah Jameson as Commissioner Gordon.
J.K. Simmons.
And Ma Kent.
Well, we don't need to read out the entire IMDb.
Well, you're just looking at your phone.
No. We're entertaining ourselves.
Okay, so Mr. Fixit and I went out. We had a little date night.
Yep.
We saw this Thursday night. Packed. It was pretty packed by the time we were done. The reserved seating makes it very difficult to tell how crowded a theater is going to be because we showed up 5 minutes before it started and there was nobody
empty.
there.
And I remember telling them, "Oh, this ain't good."
But nobody has to get to movies early anymore because it's reserved seating. So everybody just showed up right when the preview started.
Yeah,
during
the previews. That's when it just filled in real nicely after that.
And the next thing I know, I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, there's not an empty seat anymore anywhere.
No, there's people fighting next to us to get to their seats because somebody had stolen their
They'd
seats.
sat in the wrong seats. Yeah.
And you're Frank?
We saw it Saturday morning, hoping to miss people because neither I nor Paquito are big people. And it was maybe a third full. A lot of kids. Unfortunately, we had noisy kids like right next to us, but like little bitty kids though. And I kept reminding myself, it's Justice League. This is a movie that ideally is made for children, little children especially. So I couldn't begrudge them that. Occasionally it would kind of annoy me some, but it had a really nice sound system. So, and then I didn't hear the kids anymore. Paquita's got more sensitive hearing, so it was kind of driving her insane, but she managed.
So how do we want to talk about this? Want to recap the movie real quick?
I think Frank should go first.
Or do we want to?
Do I have to do the recap too?
Are we going to do the quick recap like we did for Thor?
Just do the bird's eye view, yeah. Then if you want me to start in my opinion, I'll do that.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this goes on the heels of Batman v Superman.
Dawn of Justice.
Dawn of Aquarius.
I always like to say the full name because it makes it sound that much worse.
BVS.
Oh, no, you're right. Abbreviation does help. DOJ.
BVS DOJ.
There's obviously the Sessions DOJ.
So it's, I don't know. Okay, so it's
you want to just do like a really super simple version?
Yeah,
a bad guy shows up, and so Batman and Wonder Woman gather the people that are going to be in the Justice League to fight the bad guy. That's really, I think, as deep as you need to go into this shit that won't get covered as we pick it.
Because honestly, most of the seeds of this movie were planned in Batman vs Superman. They're going after.
Go
people.
Listen to those podcasts because it's two. It's the one with you two guys and the one with all three of us. Both the extended version and the regular version, depending on how you want to do it. That's the preamble you'll need for this podcast.
He had the bad YouTube videos that he saw on Lex Luthor's computer, so they're just tracking down those guys.
Yeah,
you've got what are the
parademons?
Parademons trickling throughout the universe, the world. So they're
Sorry, parademons in name only, but okay.
Right. I mean, how do you uncurby parademons?
Well, now again, why were the parademons there though?
Whoa. We're not even.
Okay.
Do we even want to?
My bad.
Like, are we? Is that
No. You go. Go.
I mean, that was it. We're done.
Yeah, there's really not that much more to get into, right? As we get into it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So, since you guys wanted me to press me to actually do my opinion first, so I don't drop it on the back end. Since we've been having this ongoing conflict between Marvel and DC, it's great that they finally managed to make an Image Comics movie. Everything starts in the middle. No characters are really introduced. Lots and lots of fighting. Always in a hurry to get to the next fight, and then a big fight, and then it's over. So, we finally got a classic 90s style Chromium Age Image Comics movie. That having been said, I liked it. I actually had a good time watching this flick. It's not a substantial movie by any reckoning. There were just massive problems with the movie, and I will we'll go into detail on those, I'm sure. But I actually had a good time watching it.
You got to elaborate more than that.
Okay.
There's got to be more to it.
Sure.
Than
Okay, and then you guys can jump on that. Well, for starters, the easiest thing to win me, and totally an easy mark on this, and Mac wanted us all to go together as a group to see the movie, and
because we're friends.
Yes,
right. And we've done this for 20
years.
We go see comic book movies together. So
well, we try. We don't always see them.
Let's not act like I was making some request that does not occur.
Unusual, yeah.
Every other month.
And my what I had said basically is we all gotten together and we traveled to get to the same theater at the same time to watch the earliest showing of Ragnarok we possibly could. All of us expecting to really enjoy that movie, and then I didn't really enjoy it that much. I liked it okay, but I didn't like it that much. And so with Justice League, knowing its reputation, knowing all the problems with getting this movie made, and knowing how fucking Slytherin they were about the fucking review process, it's like there's a real. I mean, because we want to talk about Rotten Tomatoes. They try to blame Rotten Tomatoes for hurting the movie industry. It's like, oh, our numbers are way down because Rotten Tomatoes tells everybody that we were making shitty movies. And the fact is, well, yeah, it's the information age. Regardless of whether or not there's a Rotten Tomatoes to aggregate, people are going to know if your movie's shitty, and they're not going to go see your shitty movie and pay exorbitant prices because they know better now, because they have an easy resource. Everybody's got a smartphone. They go and they check and they find out, and you can't fool people anymore with just having a trailer. But Rotten Tomatoes specifically, the main aggregator that everybody uses, held back reviews of the movie, held back their tomatometer reading of the movie until like the last minute, essentially, until the day the movie was going to start its previews. And it just so happens that Rotten Tomatoes is partially owned by Time Warner, who made the movie.
Yeah, thought it was very strange.
Yeah, a lot of people, well, I tend to agree with the reigning theory that it's more about promoting this new Rotten Tomatoes Facebook show that they're trying to do to kind of give it a little bit of a push.
Will they do like an unveiling or something?
No, because if you went to Flickster, the ratings were already there, because Flickster's their sister.
Yeah, ratings. I heard there was like a leak too. They leaked it.
Yeah. So I already go to Flickster, and so I already knew what the ratings were. When everybody was like, "You don't know," I'm like, "Yeah, I've already seen it. It's like 42%. It's on Flickster because it pops up on my phone."
So, what is the current tomatometer?
I believe it's 40.
Okay,
40%. Audience score 85.
Yeah, and that just made me that much more worried because audiences are fucking stupid.
Yeah,
and if the critics hate a movie and the audiences love it, that almost totally means that it's going to be some popcorn shit that I'm going to fucking despise like I normally would. And then of course,
I don't think you're totally wrong with your comment just then. But go ahead.
Okay. But also what's interesting is they had a clever strategy where they let people put out social media reviews ahead of the long form reviews. And most of those social media reviews, which I think were probably screened before a friendly critic, were like, yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty solid. You go ahead and go see it. Wasn't like overwhelmingly positive, but positive enough people were like, oh, okay, well, I really want to see it anyway. As long as nobody's specifically telling me not to go see it, I'll go see it. And then a few days before the movie came out, enough reviews started coming out where it's like, no, this is kind of a shit show. And so I had no reason to expect that I was going to enjoy this flick. And I certainly didn't want to kill myself trying to get to the other side of town to watch it in a theater all at once. I didn't see any reason why we all had to see it in the same theater at the same time. Because usually what happens...
Because we're friends.
Yeah.
Because we maybe talk for a few minutes before the movie, we watch the movie, and then we all bust up in the parking lot, and that's it. If it's a weeknight, we can't just hang out afterwards.
It's not true.
For me, it defeats the purpose. But I'm actually a little bit sorry you guys weren't there because you'd watched me during the Wonder Woman sequence at the very beginning of this movie, where they do the more orchestral, more classical version, classical instrumentation of her theme that was used in the Wonder Woman movie and in Dawn of Justice.
Terrible. Awful.
So they did the more symphonic version, and that was nice. I liked that. And she's standing on top of a female statue of justice, and then she dives in to go after terrorists, and she beats up all the terrorists. And the main one that got me, because a lot of those sequences were already shown in the trailer, but the main thing that got me is a terrorist is about to open fire on a group of hostages, and she runs up, and using her bullets and bracelets, which she's done in the comics a billion times, she deflects every single one of the shots from the automatic gunfire fire, and I had the biggest shit-eating grin on my face while that was happening. I'm not necessarily a happy-go-lucky person, but despite the impression you might get from podcasts, I do laugh, I do smile. But sometimes you smile, and sometimes it's more of an affected thing. But with that, I could not take the shit-eating grin off my face until well into the next sequence, I think it was a Batman sequence that followed, and I just had this big dumb grin on my face, big toothy smile, lit eyes watching that, and the movie really had to go out of its way to lose me at that point because I just loved that sequence so much.
That sequence was that had to be a Snyder sequence, right?
I'm pretty confident about that.
You want to know how I knew? Because when they walked into the bank or school or wherever the hell they were, it's not just that people die in the beginning. It's almost like I feel like he bumps the base on their bodies hitting the floor. That's people talk about the death.
It's always a little extra violent.
People talk about the death in the Marvel movies, and tons of people die in those movies, and they talk about the death in these. I'm telling you, dude, there isn't. When Snyder kills human beings in these movies, it's different. It's more vindictive. It's more real. Which you don't need it to be more real in a comic book movie when the humans are dying. You just don't. So I was like, I was like, I knew the second the bodies start when and it's just shooting everybody, and they're just bodies are clumping, just piling up on the floor. I'm like, oh, this is because the whole movie I looked at it like, where's a Snyder scene? Where's a Whedon scene? I'm like, oh, this has got Snyder all over it. Like, oh my gosh. And then also because of some of the more recent things that have happened.
Yeah, you're a little more sensitive right now.
Pointing guns at school children. I know she blocks all the bullets. I was like, ooh, how did this make the final cut? Like, you figure they would have scrambled to fix this. Maybe they made less kids die.
That's just it, though. It's nice that there's a hero to show up to stop that.
I will say
happening.
I'm not big on changing your show because of events that happen that are not in your control. But I mean, what happened here in Texas recently was brutal, dude. Yeah. And unfortunately, just because I watch news, that's the first thing that pops
it's happening more and more often, so it's hard to tune that out at all. Yeah. But I think one of the reasons Snyder has such a strong anime influence, and I think that comes from the anime that extra.
Well, she does this weird like power jump, like crab walk, blocking them. I thought it was. I don't know a lot about Wonder Woman. I just know from the cartoon. And when I saw her block bullets, she was always standing in a position and blocking them. And I just thought it was weird. She did like a crab walk across the crowd, blocking bullets. I was kind of like this Flash multi. I mean, I get it to a fan. They love. I just was like,
I would have to watch the movie again to see what her body mechanics look like. That's kind of not where my head was while I was watching that.
It was a little weird.
I was loving watching
the spirit.
There's no fucking Captain America shield being in use. She's blocking every single bullet with her bracelet. That is a comic book thing, and it did make me super duper happy. I actually teared up a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I was just so fucking happy with that scene.
Too far.
But it's true.
The spirit of the scene was great. I do. We'll touch on that later. But the spirit of the scene was great, and it was great they led off with that.
Yeah. And I love that the lasso was getting used to and used appropriately. That was really cool.
Yeah. That was as Wonder Woman as it gets, in my opinion. I mean, like, again, I was so glad they made a point to say, let's let her use these damn bracelets in the first 5 seconds of this movie. Because it translates to the screen so great. Blocking the bullets, I mean, come on, dude. People,
that's her thing.
Their jaws hit the floor with the Matrix where you're dodging bullets in slow-mo. You've got the OG at this. This is what she does. She uses super speed to block bullets with her wrist. It's such a great visual. And that's why we were also disappointed, or at least I was, when we were watching the trailers for Wonder Woman, where I'm like, are they not going to use the bracelets? Mm-hmm. Like, this is the baddest ass shit that she does. She blocks bullets. Just fuck, it's great.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of the TV show, it's the same fucking thing.
And when you gave her the shield, you're like, what the fuck are you giving a shield for, dude? Come on, man. So I was glad that they made a point. I'm with you. I wasn't going to cry.
Yeah. I just teared up, tears of joy. Nothing
I get it.
Nothing escaped my eye sockets or anything, but I just got a little watery.
I did the nod.
Did she do her Dragon Ball hit on that one too?
She might have done a Dragon Ball hit on that one.
You as a Hulk fan, I 100% get that.
Dude, they overuse it.
They do. They overuse it. It's a ranged attack from a video game. That's not something from
I'm glad you went there, because this is what it reminds me of.
Yeah, okay.
When they added a fireball to Chun-Li's inventory. Like, everybody wants a projectile with like Ryu and Ken, right? Yes. And Chun-Li never had one. She just had all the kicking.
The flying bird kick.
They had to throw her in a little fireball. It's so lame, and it goes against the basis of the character, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about Chun-Li.
Yeah. But also, that's a Hulk move. And you as a Hulk fan, it's she's stealing your act.
But that's like her go-to. Like,
it is.
We're talking about Chun-Li.
It's her go-to.
It's her basic special move.
I guess when we get to me, I at no time had pleasure in this movie. It was serviceable at best. Like, I hated the first half. The Wonder Woman was okay. I actually loved when they showed Thermos. What's the name of it?
Themyscira?
Yeah.
Therminstrel.
Yeah, that shit was fucking, like, that was like, okay, I hope this is the movie. Please, God. but they're defending an Infinity Stone. Yes, I want more of that. Like, that's what I want.
The Tesseract. Specifically, it's the Tesseract.
I love that scene when she was telling the story of it. I was like,
it's so
please
meta
make
that Joss Whedon contributed to directing a movie that ripped off a movie that he directed that was exactly the same.
No.
That's the opposite of meta. What occurred in this movie is the opposite of meta.
It's literal.
It would be like if that was an accident. This is not meta. This was.
Let's just get the original guy.
We got to copy them Avengers movies.
Yeah,
we did.
I won't lie. The only times I actually was kind of enjoying the movie was I could feel Marvel was being injected into it. I was like, oh, that's a Marvel thing. I could feel it.
Oh, this
and I was
movie's
like,
so thirsty for Marvel.
I was kind of like, okay, I get that.
Well, okay. Well, hold on. I will stave a little bit of that though. A lot of what is Marvel is Whedon.
Yeah, cute. No, he does that weird dialogue. Which those were the only two times I laughed. Which I was really shocked because I heard people laugh, but it were normies, and they're like, he pooped in pants, and I'm just like, it wasn't funny. Like I don't find that funny. Where I was
as a person that was not tuned into the comedy in Ragnarok is still a way funnier movie than Justice League by being funny at all.
But Justice League is not a funny movie. Like he was saying, I can't speak to your crowd, but there was like raucous laughing at our Ragnarok.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah,
There was none of that at Justice
League. I'm saying, even as a person for whom Ragnarok's humor wasn't really firing, it's still way funnier. I laughed way more often at Ragnarok.
All of Sheldon's
Justice
jokes
League was trying just as hard to have a joke every few seconds.
All of Sheldon's jokes were just black. Like,
and they got some chuckles at most.
I watched.
Okay, we can't just keep. You need to say Ezra Miller's the Flash because the Sheldon thing is kind of throwing me off, and I know that if it's throwing me off,
okay. The three DC characters I really enjoy are Green Lantern, Batman, The Flash. I can't talk shit about Wonder Woman because I don't read a lot about Wonder Woman. I've never been a fan about Superman because he's just kind of overpowered. He's boring.
Incorrect, but okay.
What do you mean?
No, Superman's awesome. They just don't make good Superman stories very often.
Dude,
Superman's a great
like
character.
moving planets.
And you do love the original movies.
Oh yeah. But those are like comic book movies. Like you get a fun, like it's fun. I just don't like these new Superman movies. They're just kind of weird to me.
Well, I haven't really liked a Superman movie since Superman 2 in 81 or whatever it was.
Actually, so before I watched...
I can't really say these new ones. It's like they're all... They haven't even done... Even those Superman movies got bad almost immediately. So only half of those are any good.
Well, because I went ahead and I rewatched Superman, Batman vs. Superman, Wonder Woman, and like I told you, I was debating whether to watch...
Well, you wanted to actually do a ranking, as I recall.
Well, no. I just wanted to watch them all before I got there, so I wanted to walk in and be able to...
see the destination?
Yeah, because I could never do that with the Marvel movies because there's just too fucking many of them. Yeah. So I was like, I want to be able to walk in and just feel like the story's just going on. So like I told you, I didn't even touch Suicide Squad. I didn't even go near it because I just felt that's not part of it.
You can just watch a few key scenes. A lot of Suicide Squad is informed by Dawn of Justice, though. There's a lot of acknowledging the hopelessness that the vacuum that Superman has created as causing Suicide Squad to come into his being.
I guess the first half you could have. Yeah, I just didn't want to watch it.
And the end of it too. I mean, Batman shows up there at the end to discuss what they're going to do now. So throughout that movie, the entirety of Suicide Squad is a reaction to the death of Superman.
Well, the problem I had was I didn't like the way they portrayed the Flash at all. One bit.
Terrible.
I called him Sheldon because he acted like the character from The Big Bang Theory with my favorite seat, and I'm all nervous, and I got all these tics, and I can't communicate with people.
I think that's part of the problem. He's not Sheldon because he is desperate for human interaction. He's desperate to figure out how people. He's more like Data from Star Trek, but even more so, he's Rain Man. He's not Sheldon because Sheldon is more like Lex Luthor. Sheldon's a guy who just is very comfortable with being divorced from humanity, where the Flash is desperate to make human connections that he's unable to make without any clear reason for why he has so much trouble with human interaction. And I don't understand.
I'm not going to argue the point.
I think he's just
you've probably seen more episodes than I have.
I think he's just making a joke, and I think you're going into no, well, this is what makes Sheldon.
I don't keep calling Sheldon. No, yeah, but I don't. But he keeps saying Sheldon because he looks like shorthand.
Because he's a skinny, pale white guy with black hair, and he's dumb. That's what
and he's scared of everything.
He has all sorts of social anxiety.
Yeah, that's all he's saying.
Yeah,
like I haven't seen the show enough to say what you're saying.
But he's Flashman. He's water's too hot. He's Flashman.
Yeah, he was fucking annoying. Batman was...
Well, stick with the Flash.
Okay.
Since I was trying to go kind of character by character-ish,
okay.
So that's a good way of going about it. Ezra Miller...
Should I talk about what I think first before we go character to character?
Or do you want to do an overview of the movie first? Or do you...
I thought we did an overview.
Yeah, we already did. Just what he thought.
No. I'm talking about an overview of your thoughts of the movie. That's
what I'm saying.
Your overall impression.
Okay, so I read as many reviews as I could.
He obviously went there, so I just kind of went along.
I read as many reviews as I could of this movie because I get off on these negative reviews on these fucking DC movies. They're they are absolutely hilarious to me. The way it's relentless. The reviews of Suicide Squad are phenomenal. I don't know.
So much anger.
I don't know if you've read.
So much venom.
People are pissed that they had to go sit for 2.5 fucking hours in these shit show movies. They're god awful. Batman vs Superman is god awful, and if you don't think so, there's something wrong with you. I don't think
it's god awful.
It's god awful. It's god awful. The
director. Theatrical. I've never seen the theatrical. The director's cut is all right.
It's complete garbage, and it's not short garbage. It's like 2 hours and 35 minutes of freaking garbage or whatever. It feels like 4 hours. So every shitty scene you're in lasts for 15 minutes, and I'm like, just get me out of this scene. Like you can't. It's the worst. It's water torture, dude. It's like I saw it at Cinemark Guantanamo Bay. Like I'm not even freaking lying. And there was no XDS with 3D glasses. So I could not wait. So I checked the thermometer. No score, no Rotten Tomato score. I'm like, well, that's bizarre. And I forgot that they're owned by Warner Brothers, which is funny. But I guess you said they're trying to do some new things, so that's fine. And I was like, well, surely I got to find one. So I hit Gizmodo and I read theirs. I hit I think the New York Times. I read theirs. I read a Vanity Fair. I think had one that was pretty good. I read a bunch, and the word I kept seeing over and over and over again was mess. I mean, you could have Control F mess, and it would have popped up everywhere in these reviews. Not just mess, disaster. Where are they going from here? They tried to change the tone. They're going on and on. And I was like, this is going to be a great time because I'm going to destroy this movie. And I left. I liked it much how you felt. I left, and you said that I can't remember what you said earlier. Where I was like, wait, that was a good description of it. Some shitty popcorn movie. That was a shitty popcorn movie, like through and through. But it was not a 2 hour and 45-minute long shitty popcorn movie. It was an hour and 59-minute shitty popcorn movie. So when you hit the terrible scenes that I hit in Batman vs Superman, they're over in 5 seconds because I think Joss Whedon saw that scene and was like, oh, I'm sorry, you want this to be how long? You want this to be a 15-minute scene between Mira and Aquaman? Nobody gives a shit. We're going to cut the whole scene out. He's just going to show up, and then we're going to get the fuck out because we need to get to the main story. So I think a lot of reviewers saw those scenes and they were like, God, this movie's just jumping everywhere. Like, what are they doing? Like, what do you mean she's talking to Aquaman like she hasn't seen him in 40 years, but he's suddenly just there fighting fucking what's his name? Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
And then he's gone. And I'm like, yeah, that was jumpy, but I don't want to see that scene. Yeah. I don't want to.
It's like you were saying about the gladiatorial combat in Ragnarok. You didn't need that shit. We don't need the connective tissue because it's all about the bullet points anyway. It's all about setting up the movies they're going to follow and giving you enough context in this movie so you know why everybody's fighting. But this movie was like a podcast played at double speed. Yeah. And at least one of the guys talks fast, but you're over it through it so quickly you kind of look over. You're not as bothered by its deficits because it's out of the way so quickly you don't even really care.
And honestly, other than The Flash, I thought the comedy was pretty good. I thought the jokes were
the jokes were not
terrible. The jokes were not. Have you watched the rest of these movies? We're bad guys, remember? This was not that. These were Whedon-esque. This was vintage Whedon in the Whedon scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm bleeding. When Batman hits the ground,
I hated
something's
that.
bleeding.
It was off-brand Whedon, man.
I was so not expecting it though that I'm like, holy shit! Like Batman made a joke. He didn't just grunt when he hit the ground. And probably my favorite one was when Superman and Cyborg are trying to split the mother boxes at the end, split the Tesseracts from the Infinity Gauntlet at the end, and they were both looking at each other and they're like, we got to make sure we do this because I kind of like being alive. And then Cyborg looks at him and goes, yeah, me too. And I was like, that's fucking hilarious, dude, because they both were dead and they both came back, and Cyborg went from fucking hating his life to actually like, holy shit, I'm actually useful. He's the one who found the Tesseract. He's the one who's talking to the mother boxes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So stuff like that, I like. That would have never been in a Josh Whedon. Zack Snyder. There's no way that was in his version. If it was, then I'm taken aback. But
no, that was classic.
That had
Whedon.
to be Whedon, man.
There's no way to. Well, the only scene I laughed at was when Aquaman sits on the lasso.
Great, that was a great scene.
And I was like, okay, that was a Marvel moment. Through and through.
Well, what's funny about that though is, and I don't know if they legit got this from the comics or not. That exact thing happened in a Christopher Priest written story between Aquaman and Wonder Woman where they had a team up.
Oh, really?
And they had to use the lasso, and he gave her some unfortunate truths that he didn't necessarily want her to know.
Okay, so
that's actually straight from a comic book story.
So that was I actually was, and then that was it.
Well, I actually had that scene spoiled for me, and because I read so many reviews, and I still had forgotten about it as he was saying it because he was kind of still in character in the beginning of it, and then it flipped when he got to Wonder Woman. I was like, oh shit, this is the lasso scene. And then I was waiting for who was going to notice that he's sitting on. That was a really good scene, man. That's not a scene we've had in any of these films, in any of them. So and then we were on to the next scene.
Yeah,
they didn't dwell on it. They didn't fist pump over it. They go to the next scene.
Dead They didn't pause for laugh.
Right. Another one was.
But just before y'all move too far, while I didn't think it was funny, I think that the attempts at comedy humanized the characters because it allowed them to relate to one another as human beings.
Right.
And one of the problems we had with a lot of these Snyder movies, especially, but just in general, is it's actors talking at each other without actually seeming to connect to one another. And the attempts at humor at least connected them on a human level that you could recognize.
Right, because they felt like the Avengers are. They're a bunch of buddies. So you can drop a bunch of buddies at a cabin, and even though they're all metahuman superheroes, Iron Man and Captain America can have a conversation where they're pissed at each other because they're friends beefing. You know what I mean? Like, they're a group of friends, not just action figures stacked up on a ledge, and you're going to start smashing them into Steppenwolf. They talked, they conversed, they shared. Wonder Woman and Cyborg had moments where they like, this is stuff I was totally not expecting from this movie, especially with the runtime. I was like, that's the kind of shit they're going to cut out.
They're going to cut, right.
And then you get to stuff like, we're going to bring Superman back. Well, how are we going to bring him back? We're going to take a cosmic cube, or we're going to take a mother box, and we're going to take it to the ship where they brought back Doomsday, and we're going to dip his body in it. But then, like, there's not enough charge in the ship, so Flash is going to run fast and get 1.21 gigawatts and charge the cube. Like, it was the stupidest shit ever. But then Superman's back. Let's go to the next scene. And
next scene was, okay, now we got to do our Civil War moment. Okay, so he's going to fight the rest of the Justice League, and we're going to do a whole Civil War, and that's going to be the cool part. And that was the other part I laughed at, is when the Flash is running around him and Superman does that glare, and he
loved it.
That was awesome.
And that's another thing.
And the funny thing too is that's right out of X-Men Apocalypse. That exact same scene happened in X-Men Apocalypse, but it's so much better in Justice League. It's so much better handled. And part of what makes it work so well is they play it as a moment of horror, because they don't know what's going on with Superman. They don't know if he's nuts or evil or what. And so when Superman sees the Flash and starts looking over at him and starts reacting to him, and
as
you know that
he's fighting
fast
everyone
enough.
else.
Yes. And this is the guy who's not really suited to be a superhero yet. He's not really confident that he can be a superhero. And now Superman is about to come at him, and he knows that this guy's fast enough to at least comprehend him, if not full on respond to him. And clearly, eventually we see, no, he can full on respond to the Flash. It's a moment of terror, and that's exciting. It's exhilarating. It's like you're not expecting horror in this movie, just like you're not expecting.
I wouldn't say horror.
I wouldn't say horror.
Yeah, I wouldn't say horror.
No,
because you knew Superman was going to be good and then help them fight.
Yeah, they gave us 2 minutes. They gave us a minute and a half of what I told Mac here was like, if you gave me more of that, I would have been more happy with this movie. But the fact that he went from "Can you bleed?" drops him, remembers Wonder Woman. I think we're friends.
No.
Dude, that scene was so lame.
And I told you afterwards, that's another fucking scene that Snyder wanted to do. Probably, I don't know. I'm blaming all the shitty stuff on Snyder. Maybe I should.
Sometimes I think they were taking swipes at the first one though. I think that was a swipe at the first one.
Because they cut that shit out. So they bring out the big gun, Lois Lane, and they go they send Superman back to his rehab facility in freaking Kansas or whatever. I don't need.
Oh no! Just like in Age of Ultron, let's all go and hang out at the farm for 10 minutes.
I don't care about how are we going to get Superman's memories back. I got to rehab. I'm going to show him
emo
pictures.
Superman.
So great they shorthanded
We
that.
don't
so glad
need
for that.
any of that shit. So that's another scene where I bet the writers were like, "Who the fuck?" Or columnists, reviewers are like, "What the fuck just happened?" You bring him back. You go through this trouble to bring him back in like 2 seconds. You bring him back without any explanation to how you just revived a dead body. He fights the JLA, then you take him to freaking Kansas or wherever the hell, and suddenly 5 seconds later he's like, "Oh no, I'm feeling pretty good now, guys. Let's go fight." All right, cool. I don't care about how you convince Superman that he now is Superman again and he got his memory back. I don't care. There is not a slightest part of me that wanted to see the Lois Lane Clark Kent crying on the bed. He doesn't remember me. But then he sees the ring out of the corner of his eye and it brings back memories. Or and again, I don't care about any of that shit. So cut it the fuck out and get on with some fighting.
And that's so weird too, because again, we're waiting for that scene that is like the first minute of the last trailer of Justice League where they're out in the field and he's talking about you put on the ring and all that stuff. And it's not even in the fucking movie.
No.
This is like the most leading trailered movie ever because there's so much shit that's in these trailers. Even the last fucking trailer right before the movie's coming out, not in the fucking movie at all.
Well,
not
when you reshoot 90% of it,
Yeah.
Right,
the
okay.
trailers are going to be a little off, I guess.
Yeah. Before you got too far again, what I loved about the sequence where they're resurrecting Superman was that it's such a classic Gardner Fox DC kind of bullshit science thing to do, and they get through it quickly, and there's a conviction that this is going to work on the part of the movie, not necessarily the individual characters. And even though it doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense, it's something that gets you from point A to point B, which is what happened a lot in the Justice League stories anyway. And so I like that was definitely a slice of classic Silver Age bullshit DC pseudo science,
see,
as opposed to doing Marvel stuff, which is a problem that I have with a lot of these movies where they try to just, it has that DC flavor to it. And then I like that they did do the heroes fighting the heroes thing like they've done in the Marvel movies, but you try to say, oh, it's a Civil War moment. It wasn't that. Superman's disoriented and he's in an altered state, which is something that happened a lot in old Superman comics. He was always getting exposed to red kryptonite and going nuts and going off the rails, and you're like, holy shit, what are we going to do? Superman's nuts right now. That's, again, a very DC thing. And the more the whole point of having guys like Zack Snyder do these DC movies was to make sure that they had their own separate identity from Marvel. And now they're trying their best to make Marvel movies. So any opportunity I can see that they managed to do a Marvel-ish thing in a DC way where it's DC flavored, where it reflects the old school comics, makes me happy because I don't want these things to become this homogenized thing where all superhero movies are the same. That's part of what I love about what Fox is doing, where they're going off into all kinds of different genres, and apparently it's going to be a fucking horror movie and shit. It's like, yeah, fucking explore. Superhero isn't a genre. It's an accumulation of genres, and you can explore that type of story in so many different ways. And I want DC to do that. So I'm happy that it feels like a DC movie, even as they're trying to chase Marvel. So
to piggyback on that, I like that scene for a different reason. The reason I like that scene is because, and again, guys know I don't give a shit about any of the characters. I think Superman is the most boring milquetoast character on freaking Earth. Wonder Woman, I don't know anything about her. I've learned more in this movie and a half about her than I ever had any clue about her in the comic books, because like she's nobody in the comic books. I'm sorry, she's just not. She's so far behind Batman and Superman.
Not a presence. No.
I mean,
especially to mainstream casual readers.
Yeah, I mean, Aquaman and Flash, who freaking cares, right? But that scene, I knew they were trying to make amends for one of the biggest mistakes all these movies have made, and that's shitting on their own characters. Superman sucks in all these movies. They can make him to look like I'm telling you, the courtroom scene in Batman vs Superman. If I were a Superman fan, I would have got up and walked out. When they allude, when he's talking to Lois Lane later, that he might have heard the bomb before it blew up, the pig piss freaking tea scene or whatever, before the bomb blew up and killed everybody in that courtroom, that he might have heard the bomb, but he chose not to act. And it's like, what are you talking about, dude? This is fucking Superman. Even I know that's fucked up, dude. So finally, Superman shows up and he's actually kicking ass. And I'm like, and they're showcasing his powers.
Yes.
Oh, how about that? Superman has everybody's fucking power, and it's annoying in the comic books, but in a movie, it's kind of fucking cool. Mm-hmm. So let's have him showcase some of this stuff. So I was like, at this point, I knew, okay, they recognize they done fucked up. Let's not make Batman a super creep weirdo that nobody can relate to. Let's not make Superman a bumbling fool who people just die all around because he's so torn up on the inside about Pa Kent or whatever the hell. He's going to go hallucinate with Pa Kent up on a mountain.
Yeah, go fuck off with the X-Men and all that.
Fucking stupid. You know? Like, who feels bad for Superman? Like, stop it. You've got everybody's power. Stop being a woe is me all the time.
You've got to have a different way of getting into Superman than to try to make him, like you said, a mutant.
Right. So that's what I knew. Okay, I'm like, you know what? I think so far, and to that point, I'd kind of noticed it. Everybody looked pretty good in that movie. Like, there doesn't have to be, Batman has to look good in this movie at Superman's expense. Why can't you just have both characters look good? I don't understand why you can't just have a movie where all the characters look good. And I thought throughout this whole movie, what character came out of this movie going, oh, that guy was a loser. We shouldn't have had him in there. The guy looked like an idiot. Cyborg had his part. Aquaman had his whatever Aquaman does. Flash had a lot of important moments rescuing people. Wonder Woman did her thing. Superman did his thing, and Batman did his thing. Like, they did a good job of keeping all the characters. We had no Hawkeye. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where everybody's like, what is Hawkeye even on this scene for? Like, what was he doing? He's shooting arrows at some people? Like, nobody knows. We didn't really have a Hawkeye in this movie. And I thought that was pretty freaking impressive to introduce this many characters, and you gave them all something to do in light of the editing that took place and the reshoots that took place. I thought that they did something else that I was just surprised of coming out, because I just thought somebody was going to look like, oh, I forgot Jason Momoa was in this movie, because they cut all of his scenes because they had to have Superman say that. You know what I mean? No, they all had relatively important scenes in this film.
And that ability to balance was something that Whedon did very well in the first Avengers.
In the first Avengers, yeah.
Aquaman.
Longer than a whale, he can swim anywhere.
Swift and powerful monarch of the ocean.
He can breathe underwater and go flying through the air.
Aquaman, king of the seven seas.
For favor of Atlantis. Atlantis is the prince of the
I think you're giving it too much credit, dude. Like, what did Aquaman really do? Besides
Too much credit. Did you see the last movie?
No, Aquaman.
I mean, he did a lot of. Yeah, he did a lot.
And
But he didn't look like a clown. He wasn't constantly getting trapped and they're having to rescue him. He was doing his thing as much as he could.
Dude, he had like, I'm sure if you totaled his time, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes of time. Like, I gave you.
There was definitely a lack of Jason Momoa.
Yeah, you're
given
giving
that
it
my
a lot.
girlfriend in part saw this movie because she likes looking at Jason Momoa, and given that he is definitely the Hemsworth of the group, there was a lack of Aquaman stuff to do, and they did have to kind of find ways to make Aquaman relevant, which has always been a problem with the
Yes,
character.
because I'm sorry, dude. Like, he was the Hawkeye, dude. All he did was, yeah, right ain't done.
But
yeah.
no, but he's not the Hawkeye because
He had
you get to
one
see
good
him-
scene. We sat on the lasso. Even when he was underwater, that scene was Mira's like you said, they talked, but I wasn't sure what they're talking about, and then he left. And then Batman's trying to get him to join the group, but he's being a dick, and he jumps in the water. And then he pops out of the water, and like he pops up in the tunnel where they're at, and he stops the water, and then they get away. And like he
gets a lot of spotlight moments in the big battle. He has a lot of presence. It's obvious he does
stopped
come off
the water.
worst.
He saves them from the underwater tunnel
when
so
they
they
was
can
getting
get
flooded and everything else. But a lot
When
of
does Hawkeye do? When did Hawkeye do that?
Dude, my point is,
Hawkeye doesn't even do that.
Dude, he was the Hawkeye of the movie.
He was not the Hawkeye is so useless. He's a joke. Like Saturday Night Live does skits about Hawkeye because it's so fun. They're not doing any Aquaman skits about his uselessness in the movie. They'll make maybe he's talking to fish, which was a horrible joke. Could you use that more times in the movie Justice League? We know he talks to fish. Are we gonna have 4 of those every Aquaman movie where he talks to fish? Is that the joke they're gonna go to?
I'm scared of Flash movie. I can't.
We're not talking about fucking future movies yet, dude.
Not even, okay. Let's get back to the character by character right quick too, since we were working on that. Because in particular, let's see, was it done with what was the second one we were doing? Oh, Flash. Okay, yeah, Flash is terrible.
Awful. And
Ezra Miller. The more I read interviews with him and stuff, he's a pretty man, and I know that the girls like looking at him. But he seems like one of those guys that I would just have no tolerance for in life. He's such a showboat. He's such a guy.
He is eccentric drama kid. He is eccentric drama kid
Yes,
to the nth degree, dude.
Yeah.
Where it leaks into his he can't even go to a freaking convenience store without you wanting to freaking strangle him or something because he's got to do something.
And because he's such a comic, attempted, sad, pathetic comic relief character in this movie, he really got on my nerves. And because he's in direct competition with Grant Gustin on the Flash TV show, who is a much more well-rounded character, a more interesting character, he doesn't look terrible in a much more cheaply made costume. I just want to see Grant Gustin take over the movies and push this whole conception of the character out, because it's no version of the Flash that has ever existed, which is another thing that bugged the shit out of me, because it's a little bit like Wally and a little bit like Bart Allen, but with that he
was a fucking coward.
He wasn't a coward.
Dude, he goes, I don't really fight. I push
it's
people
his
when I run
first
away.
mission
Dude,
ever.
that was the we're bad guys moment. When I heard that, I was like, I fucking hate you now. Like, that's the moment you took a shit on that character and you just shit it all over.
No,
but
nobody steps up. But he steps up almost immediately afterwards, and
because he has
totally
to be
makes
pushed
sense.
into. Dude, the Flash. Everything I've ever read, he's never been
exactly
scared.
the same moment as Scarlet Witch in Avengers: Age of Ultron, where the stakes get really high, really fast, and it's like I'm so far out of my depth.
So then
I'm
you're telling me
freaking out.
So then JLA is more like Age of Ultron, because it seems like we're running on that track where they're about the same.
There's some similarities between both the Avengers movies and Justice League. Yes.
Yeah, that's like the worst of the Marvel movies.
But I think the Flash redeems himself in that he almost immediately becomes he saves the one person that Batman tells him to save, and he's like, oh, okay, I get it now, and then he saves a whole bunch of other people.
But see, he
just had a moment.
Why was it so hard from
1.21 gigawatts?
I mean, that was so like in the books.
But I definitely don't want to see a Flash movie.
He's really fucking smart. Like, the characters in the movie felt so dumb. Like, Batman was dumb to me. Like, when they talk about the 3 cubes and they're like, well, what's in the cubes? Money, power, and I'm like, money? Wait, money? Like, what does money have to do with this fucking movie in a box? Like, I felt that. I hate the fact that Batman is not a detective. He's a thug almost with weapons. He's Moon Knight, or not even Moon Knight. Like, he's just a thug.
It does seem like Alfred does most of the work.
Yeah,
and there's
like
a lot of Google searching.
And that really annoyed the shit out of me.
But before you continue, because I was still trying to do the individual characters, but we keep getting derailed, so I'm pretty much giving up on that at this point. So I do not want to see a Flash movie, and my understanding is that they want to do a Flash movie with Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman might be the honeypot for me. That might be the only thing that gets me to see that. Cause
so they're going to do a Ragnarok, a buddy comedy?
Yeah, exactly. They let Wonder Woman carry the Flash. That may work on me. I might make
no, dude. It's
Woman.
you're going to be there just stroking it off, dude. Come on, that's your film.
But when you were talking about how there isn't a Hawkeye in this movie, I kind of think Batman's the Hawkeye in the movie, actually, because I agree he's not very useful. They go out of the way. I love. Okay, this is one of the things I enjoyed about
Batman
the movie.
can't ever be Hawkeye in these movies.
Well, no, wait. He's making some sense though, because he doesn't use his detective skills. Alfred's doing all this stuff. He has the toys. That's about it.
But
like an arrow, like he's shooting arrows. He's throwing money at problems.
Even Cyborg is the one that uses his weapon better than everyone. I get it.
And not only just that, one of the things that drives me nuts about especially the post-Morrison Justice League, but they've been doing this going back at least until the 80s, is they try to overcompensate with Batman. They try to make him so super duper cool that he actually outshines everybody in the Justice League, including Superman.
Yeah.
Because everything has to be about him. It becomes a Bat-centric universe, which has been one of the problems with these DCEU movies. And so what was great about this is for once, and you didn't get to see this in the Justice League cartoon either, they showed just how small Batman is compared to all these other people that he's around. How human he is, how he's going to spend 5 minutes fighting one parademon.
Dude.
And you're like, oh, that's great, Batman. Aquaman just killed like 12 parademons while you were struggling with that one. You're kind of, and of course we're seeing the physical toll this is taking on him. And I enjoy that Batman is sort of like the POV character in that the way they use Hawkeye, where he's the normal human being amongst gods, and all his abilities, everything that he can do is as nothing compared to these guys. And as a guy who got so sick of the Uber Batman, I love seeing that Batman's kind of a punk ass in this movie. He's not an effective team leader. He barely gets everybody together. I don't think he would have gotten them together without the extra assistance of Wonder Woman. He's kind of a punk. And he's not brilliant. He's not a detective.
But they touch on that on the cartoon. Like, he brings that up, that he's in the tower with God. Like, he has no powers. He's not supernatural. He touches on that in the cartoon.
But then they show you how awesome he is and make up for it, and he's still the co-star of the show for the most part, especially in the early seasons. Or this movie, even though he got a fair amount of screen time, he's such a punk and he's so basic compared to everybody else.
No, trust me.
I don't. But the problem is that Batman has had his day in every movie. Yeah. I don't really. To me, it's not that big a deal if Batman's got.
Oh, I'm not complaining about it. I love it because I'm sick of Batman. I love that he fucking comes up short.
He's getting this weird.
That's what I'm saying.
You're getting some weirdness out of this.
Hawkeye's been Hawkeye for 16 movies. Okay, so that's why I just don't think that you can really draw that parallel. I mean, if you want to say that he might have taken a step back because we all know Batman, right? We all know Batman.
Yeah.
So we don't need any explanation. We need explanation for some of these other guys. So if you have to kind of sacrifice some of Batman's time, he's still the one who came up with the idea.
We know his origin story.
They don't sacrifice Batman's time. He's in the movie a lot. He's just weak compared to everybody else. He's weak. He's vulnerable. He looks cool. I think some of the coolest
I hate the fact
Batman moves are in this movie.
The cool thing about Batman is he's really smart. Like,
which they don't show in these movies
at all. Which pisses me off because he's just a thug. I mean, he's just a thug running around with a gadget.
Well, I honestly, though, I really do wonder, especially since DC probably ill thought out, but because they want to be like Marvel, I think they're going to want to have that continuity rather than just dropping shit. Like, I wish they just dropped the Wonder Woman thing where it's like, she disappeared from Man's World, and they make a point of doing a little soft retcon where it's like, no, she was here the whole time. She just didn't let herself be known, but she was active the entire time. It's like, no, just fucking let her be Wonder Woman. Don't fucking even try that shit.
Doesn't he take a shot at her girl?
Shit.
Doesn't she take a shot at his boy? Doesn't Batman take a shot at her boyfriend at one time?
Yeah, the Steve Trevor thing.
Yeah, which I thought was really weird.
Yeah, it was a big reach. I wish they would just decide to just do soft retcons throughout these movies where they're just like, you know, that thing that didn't work. We're just not going to bring it up anymore. We're going to directly contradict it, and you pick which continuity you like the best. But I kind of think what they're going to do, since they've been setting up over and over again, I've been Batman for 20 years. I think they're going to replace him. I think they're going to maybe let Dick Grayson replace him.
He is, right? I thought they said that he's not going to be Batman. And now they're looking. Everybody wants Gyllenhaal, but I don't know if they're going to get Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, the current rumor is that Jake Gyllenhaal is going to take over as Batman, which that guy, I just don't believe he can play Bruce Wayne, but I do believe he could play an older Dick Grayson. You may just have Dick Grayson take over as Batman.
Okay. Now we're really off track now.
I know we're really off track. So let's move on to the next character. Well, Superman. Again, you guys talked about, you liked how Superman was portrayed in this movie.
Well,
I did too.
I definitely want to talk about Cyborg, though.
Yeah. Okay. You want to talk about Cyborg first?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
When there's trouble, you know what to do. Call Cyborg, he can shoot a rocket from his shoe. Cause he's Cyborg, doodle, something like that. Oh yeah, na, big fluffy cat, that's right.
I actually like Cyborg. Out of all the characters, that was the only one I felt for. He had a very Frankenstein feel to me.
I'm telling you, dude, if they were taking money in Vegas on what character you were going to hate and forget existed, for me, it would have been Cyborg by a landslide. And I'm right there with you, dude. I came out like, how did I end up liking Cyborg better than everyone in
I
this
love
movie.
the whole hoodie thing, and I had a sense like he was the Frankenstein monster, like I exist, I should not exist, and I'm like, okay, that's it. Like the rest of this movie, garbage. I like this. Like what is going on in his head where he feels, and then he's connected to the mother boxes, so you don't know if he's evil or good or like which way is he going to swing. Because even the team brings that up, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I need more of that, whatever that is.
When his armor went into self-defense mode, when Superman came out, and he's like, I can't stop it. I'm still learning how to control. Dude, that was some good characterization that didn't take 20 minutes to add. Little things like that grow these characters so much than having these long, drawn-out, let me sit down and talk to you my feelings in a bathtub, and da-da-da. Like, you don't have to do stuff like that.
You don't have to go emo.
Yeah, and I found that interesting. I was only disappointed that we didn't get to see like what they showed, the videotape where the mother box is next to him and his body parts are up on
he needs to have his own movie for that, though.
Yeah, I kind of want to see like where that, but I hope they keep that whole, it feels now more like he's happy shiny because Wonder Woman broke that barrier and he's now like a happy.
I think he was okay. I think that there's still plenty of room to play with that. I don't think that she,
because that was honestly that was the only character that was kind of like.
I liked how when he goes to meet her, he shuts down that whole grid.
Yeah.
That was. I'm telling you, dudes, Cyborg had a lot of really awesome moments in this movie.
A nice
I was
underplayed
just not,
moment, which helped a lot because when you got Ezra Miller just overdoing it so much,
and you saw it all
just kind of chill.
And you saw it all in the trailers anyway.
And honestly, he's what saved the movie for me. I don't care about Superman. I didn't care about Wonder Woman. I thought she was kind of weird played out. Batman, I was disappointed. Flash, I was highly disappointed. And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching the movie because me and Mac are sitting there and I'm just like, please let this movie end. And then he pops up and he starts doing his thing and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of like, now I'm interested in the movie. First half, I didn't give a shit. I was checking out. I was just like, but
even
be
like,
funny or don't be funny. Be actiony.
Steppenwolf's abducting humans to ask them about the mother box.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. But that scene was over so fast. I'm like, okay, fine.
Oh no! And then you got the Russian family trapped in her house.
Oh, the Russian family. That was actually something I read.
Age of Ultron again. It's Slovenia all over
it's
again.
Slovenia, right? And but I actually read that in a lot of reviews where they were like, they keep flashing to some Russian family, but they never really talk. You don't know why they're doing it.
They're just reacting to everything, reacting to things outside. They're walking around the house.
I wanted desperately for the little girl's bug spray to work because again, that would have been such a DC thing. That would have been so like
it's the lighter.
Lime to kill Starro kind of thing. Yeah, I was hoping that was going to happen.
It's everybody holding their lighters to deflect the Martian invasion. Everybody's spraying right up in there.
Exactly.
And so I was,
but you know that family is there for no other reason to refute the all the attacks that the first two Superman movies got, where they forgot the human element, where there's all these casualties, or there's a guaranteed to be all these human casualties that are in no way acknowledged in these movies. But they did such a good job of that with Age of Ultron and with Marvel movies in general. That family is there solely to remind you we know there's a human price, and here we are we're saving the family. Yeah. We're making a big moment out of saving the family. The heroes save the families. We get it now. We're sorry. Okay.
Specifically Superman, when he's about to do the mother box stuff, and then he stops because he hears them and goes, I have to go rescue these people first. And he and Flash had that great moment where Flash does the truck, and then he looks over and he's like, hey, I saved 3. And you look over and Superman's carrying the apartment building. Dude, that was a great scene.
That was a moment too.
Again, the second scene I laughed at. That was it.
And it shows the scale. It shows that you talk about Superman being overpowered, but if you do it right, that's an asset. That's kind of part of the thing. Superman's thing is he goes like crazy over the top, but you can find humor there. You can find humanity there, and that was a moment that kind of Superman moment. And
so we can go into Superman. I've always liked the Grant Morrison view of Superman, where he has to dumb down to be amongst the people. I've always liked that because if he's this all powerful, he got to be fucking just hella smart.
Yeah, and he was throughout the Silver Age, and so he is under Morrison.
And so I like the fact that he had to play like dumb down to be amongst the normie, but that there's like no fun in that because he could be a god. He's a walking god. Like there's nothing to challenge him. I know Wonder Woman is a god, a Greek god. And,
in the movies,
and the Flash is played. The Flash is played as some kind of time Speed Force god. Avatar.
There's that meme out there that is it's a nice little shorthand again, where the Marvel heroes are humans who want to be gods, and the DC heroes are gods that want to be humans. So
yeah, that's a good point. Well, I remember you and I when we first met. I was like, you would always kind of show me DC books, and I always told you my biggest turnoff was they're all gods. Like I don't want to watch God like rescue the world over and over. That's kind of boring. I want to see something else. And so Superman in this movie, I liked evil Superman. I would have cared for another 10 minutes of Superman kicking the shit out of JLA. I just thought it was different.
It was a moment that that I wanted to see in a Justice League movie and a moment that I thought would be best in the first Justice League movie, but I had like 9 other ways I wanted it to happen besides this one. But because they did it so well in such a short amount of time without it being a slog like the kind that Mac was afraid of, I was happy with how they did it, and if they never do it again, I'm cool with that too. They gave us an opportunity to see how powerful Superman is.
Yeah.
They compare him against the rest of the Justice League. He looks cool. You're like, holy shit, Superman's a force to be reckoned with once he finally grows a set. And that's really all I needed from that. And they gave it to me, so I was happy.
And it was enough to put the doubt in your head a little bit, like maybe they did screw up. What is Batman's? What's the big gun? Which again, Batman saves them all.
I thought that was.
We were all afraid he's going to whip out some like fucking transformer that shot kryptonite and shit. I love that Lois Lane was the big gun.
I thought he was going to show up in a Megazord,
which is one of the only intelligent things he did. And I thought it was a nice human moment too that was not overdone, which is a problem that these movies have had. Yes, of course, Clark loves Lois, and she's able to fix him, and now we can move on. Cool, done.
So okay, so now that we're
Aquaman now, right?
So no, since we're on Superman, how did you feel about the CG mustache?
No, we're not getting to that yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I want to talk about the characters.
Okay.
We can talk about some other stuff, and then I want to talk about the stingers, and then I want to go
the CG. Okay.
Okay. So
Aquaman. The way that I can make this character work for me on the screen, besides that he's Namor, because that's the easy one, because he's so fucking Namor.
He's Teenage Mutant Ninja Namor.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
But the other thing that kind of makes it work for me is he's also the Aquaman from the Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon, which was a departure from classical interpretations of Aquaman, where he's like, outrageous.
Yes, he was hilarious.
Epic adventure. I love that they even had a callback to his song about, remember how there was that episode where Captain Atom dismissed Batman because what use is somebody who doesn't have superpowers, and then he himself loses his superpowers and all his confidence, and Aquaman sings the song of heroism, and it felt like that moment where Aquaman was like, Batman, this guy's got no powers, what the fuck's he even doing here? What use is this guy? It felt like a little bit of a callback to that. But yeah, he's kind of that version of Aquaman, and that made it work okay for me. I like Jason Momoa. I think he's definitely just a fascinating guy to look at. I love those fucking eyebrows of his. Those are wicked sweet comic book eyebrows. He's got a nice screen presence. I've been hoping for him to find a role that he could do. He obviously has the physique of a superhero. I still think he missed his calling as Lobo to some degree.
Oh yeah,
such a great Lobo.
You mentioned this before. He looks like freaking Lobo.
But I'm going to enjoy seeing him in movies. I still am not committed to seeing an Aquaman solo movie, especially because they have like a microsecond of this guy in like his backstory in the movie, and then like you said, he does. If anybody gets short shrift, it's him. But I like Jason Momoa, and I'm glad he's got a franchise. But I forgot to mention with Cyborg, because I didn't get into that. Cyborg of all these characters is probably the one I had the least interest in historically. I've never really liked that character very much. And the good thing is there's enough of the classical interpretation of the character to where I think people who've been fans of his since he was in the New Teen Titans will see, because he was always basically kind of a Ben Grimm, but with cybernetics instead of the rocks. And that element is there, but he's got a lot of different powers, and he's definitely been amped up in power, which is nice. He's definitely quieter and more intellectual. And they make a point of saying that he's a genius, which he never quite displayed in the comic. He was really more of the jock who rebelled against his genius parents. But he ended up being Paquita's favorite character, in part because, there was some strong similarities to Iron Man, but also just because she liked his bearing. She liked that he wasn't so oversold. She liked that he was a tech guy. The only thing I do wish, though, is I wish they hadn't given him flight, because for me, that's kind of a defining characteristic of Cyborg, is one of these tech guys, is he's the one guy who does not have boot jets, but also because the JLA, one of their big things since at least the 70s, because I don't remember when they exactly got the teleportation, but at least since they had the JLA satellite, the Justice League have always teleported from place to place, and that's a difficult thing to pull off in movies. If you can just teleport somewhere, that's so fucking far outside of anything that we have it's very Star Trek. So, and one thing they've done in recent years is, because of his connection to the mother boxes that was only done in the New 52, that's not something that's a classical part of the character, he's got the ability to create boom tubes. So one of the ways in which he does effectively replace Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter's big thing was he kept everybody in communication through telepathy. And so that was like the big thing that made him like a central member of the team. Well, Cyborg, one of the things that he does now that serves a similar, very utilitarian function, he's the teleporter who gets people from place to place. And I kind of wish they'd done that in this movie instead of the boot jets, because that would be a very JLA thing for him to be able to do.
Yeah, and the fact that he's made out of mother boxes, I don't know why they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Why didn't he use the mother box
teleportation? They can still do it. And they didn't really show him use the jet that much. I just wish they hadn't done it at all, though, because I think that's one thing that would help to set him apart a bit. The other thing, too, is I remember I did read some reviews, and one reviewer bitched that he says booyah. Booyah! And it's like
the worst, dude.
But no, see, that's the thing, though. It's from the cartoon.
Just practicing my booyahs.
He says booyah in the Justice League, the Teen Titans cartoon. So
okay.
there's a callback to that.
I never watched it. I thought that was so forced and terrible. I was like, booyah.
Well, because the cartoon was from like 15, 20 years ago, so back then it wasn't such a trite
of
thing
all
to do.
of all the callbacks, like really, like booyah.
But that's what he does. Just like the fist bump. The fist bump was like a callback to his relationship with Beast Boy, which that's one of the things that's weird about the Flash.
A fist bump is different than a forced booyah.
Boo 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 yeah, booyah.
Because it was that was Flash trying to do a fist bump, and he's super awkward. He's like, "Is this what people do? They fist bump?"
Right.
And he looks at him like, "No." With the grave digging scene, which is another scene I loved.
Yeah, that was a great sequence, and it does recall some similar scenes in old DC comics. So another thing that's very DC and not really a Marvel thing. But yeah, they did kind of turn Flash into Beast Boy specifically so that he could relate to Cyborg in the same way it seemed like. So
are we done with characters? Do we talk about Wonder Woman? We don't talk about Wonder Woman again, do we?
We don't need to. I think we've kind of covered our feelings about Wonder Woman in the past.
Yeah.
I will say though that even though I still had some resistance even during the Wonder Woman movie itself, I'm at a place now where I accept Gal Gadot as our generation's Wonder Woman, and I do think that I don't really want to see her as an actress playing other characters in other movies, to be honest with you, but she so embodies our conception of Wonder Woman at this point after the movies, and because she's such an important figure in the DCEU, she's kind of their breakout Tony Stark character, that I've just really wholeheartedly accept her as Woman now. You were complaining before we started recording Fixit that she doesn't just physically...
No, she doesn't. But even against the other, like when I think of Wonder Woman and you see the island that she comes from, the Amazons look more like what I expect Wonder Woman to look like. And she looks like their little 13-year-old sister. And that's it. But yet she's more powerful than all of them, which is really weird for me, like to visually see that. I expect her to be a very striking... I mean, dude, even on that scene during this movie when you show the Amazons, the chicks that are knocking down the pillars to bring down the doors, I'm like, fuck, that chick will fuck you up.
Those chicks were
That's
big.
what Wonder Woman should look like. If you're going to do a brainy Wonder Woman, yes. But I expect like this warrior goddess, and she doesn't embody that to me. I don't see her as that. Now, I know you're like, well, she's supposed to be this justice... what you were telling me, like, you know, in the George Perez comics, she was portrayed more of like an ambassador, you know, a builder of bridges type stuff. That I could see. But if you're gonna show me warrior woman, then I need those chicks. Like that's what I need, or those women. I'm sorry.
My thing, I've always, or at least long, been a proponent of a more physically powerful Wonder Woman, a bigger, more muscular, more athletic looking Wonder Woman. And Gadot is fairly slight in that respect, and I agree with that. But my thing is, the main thing is the presence, properly embodying the character, embodying that loving kindness that character is supposed to have, that ability to connect to other people, that presence, that charisma. And Gadot has that. And so I can overlook where she may not be physically as powerful as I would like her to be with CGI and everything else now, and just the simple fact that anybody can do anything now with the computers and stuff. The physical presence isn't as necessary for me, so I've accepted her. But I completely see where you're coming from, and I do wish that we did have a little bit more diversity in there, really in superheroines in general, because in these movies they're all modeled pretty chicks.
Yeah. They're model. They're model thin.
They're all white. They're all thin. They're not very tall.
Well, I don't even care about the race. I just hate.
But
the
they
fact
are
that,
though. You'll notice.
I just hate the fact that they're like this model thin woman that's not realistic. Like she's not realistically that thin. Like she has to work at it, and I hate the fact that that's like, well, that's Wonder Woman. And I'm like, no. If you're gonna show me something, show me like where hard work got you somewhere. And those women, whether they're not even muscular, they just have presence.
Very fit,
like,
very athletic.
Those women had like I remember when I saw that scene, I'm like,
but I think it's important to specify they do have a physical presence. They you can tell how they relate to their environment, how they relate to other people.
Oh no, they look like warriors,
powerful looking people.
They look like gods.
Yeah,
like they look like what I envision an Amazonian god looks like. Like they look like they would tear somebody.
It doesn't. Okay, we get it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think she's great. I mean, look, is she any worse an actor than Henry Cavill? I don't know. Probably not. You know, because I ripped on her acting. Look, she's not of the country. She does have the accent, which I think helps.
Yeah.
She's not faking an accent.
Yeah.
So I'll take that she is a little wooden at times. Or the fact that she is legit, has a foreign accent that makes her sound like she's from. They didn't just get some American chick to play her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
do like
it's
the
not
accent.
Halle Berry's bullshit African accent from an early X-Men movie before she gave up on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to do it. What I wish they would stop doing is how about the up close of her going?
Oh, the smirk
of her.
Fucking hate that.
You can't hear me do the smirk, but I just did the Gal Gadot smirk. Where she'll slide to a stop, and they'll zoom in on her face, and she'll go
smirk. Or she does the Dragon Ball hit, and then she looks at you, and she's like
smirk.
Oh god, I brought that to. I told you that in the theater. Like how
as soon as you said it, I'm like, dude, I agree 1,000%.
I'm like, if she fucking smirks one more time, dude, I'm gonna lose it because it's like every other scene they show her the smirk, and I'm just like,
I mean,
oh my
she's
God.
pretty, so I guess that's okay. It's
a selling point.
It's dumb. It's find another scene, guys. We got it. You don't have to. She doesn't have to do a finishing move, and then you cut to her face with the smirk.
Finishing.
We're talking about Chun-Li.
It feels like it sometimes.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
So okay, so we've done all the characters.
Except for the villain.
The villain, yeah.
Terrible fucking.
Dude.
Definitely a Marvel villain in that
Oh
respect.
no, dude! This
well,
is
let's
no
not- we had
ego.
Doomsday.
This is no Hela. No, this is
No. Well, Hela is obviously the new Marvel villain. I'm talking
Ego.
about the first 12 movie villains. You
no.
know?
If you're gonna call him a villain,
Ares, come on, dude.
yeah, no,
Ares
no,
was terrible too.
No,
I'm
if
not-
he's a
yeah.
villain, he's like whatever villain
Hey, look,
Thor fought in Dark World.
I just want to say I will definitely take Steppenwolf over fucking Ares though. Steppenwolf at least looked
Awful.
kind of cool.
No.
He didn't have that fucking David Thewlis
they were
bullshit.
They were both just
3D
fucking
mustache.
boring. They were
Yeah,
both
they're definitely boring.
Well, the
And it's
problem.
so CGI, so
Let's-
fucking
Whoa,
cutscene.
yeah.
Okay, well then we'll talk about this, which is what I want to talk about. These DC movies have the worst special effects.
Oh yeah, he told me this.
The Pacific Rim 2, I'm a ball till I die. I'm a ball till... Pacific Rim 2's trailer looks 1,000 times better
Yeah,
than
the CG.
anything in these DC
Yeah.
movies. This is abhorrent, dude. Like
Subpar.
what
These-
they
the
did.
computer effects in these movies are so bad. It makes me think that the houses they're using like actively hate them and are sabotaging them. They're that bad.
The jaw-dropping one to start, because it was the first of many, was when they did the zoom in on Minstrel Island. As they're zooming into the island, I'm like,
yeah,
is
the
this?
gender jokes and just never get tired, guys.
Oh, I know. As they're zooming
you
in,
wanna talk- do you want to talk about
I love the face you make because he says as soon as I hear it coming, I have to look at Frank right away because he just looks, he closes his eyes, and I see the the rage just
And then-
climb up a
Can we-
scale.
and
Can we
every
just
time I
say
make
Paradise
one,
Island
stop.
and just
every
stop?
every time I say one of those jokes, they zoom in on my face and I make a squirt.
And then you back your bracelet.
That's my Super Saiyan bracelet thing.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you are correct, sir.
As they were doing that fly into the island, it was a Final Fantasy VII
Yeah.
cutscene, dude. It was over the prairies of Final
Yeah, it's
Fantasy
not even
VII.
current gen
and
video
I
games.
feel
Horrible.
bad. That was my favorite scene in the whole movie so far. Like I told him, I love the fact they showed a Green Lantern getting killed.
Oh no, we're not talking about the flashback.
I'm not talking about the scene.
Oh, I'm
on
sorry.
there.
I thought you were talking about the flashback.
I'm talking about when they first go
Oh,
to
dude,
the
that was
Messer-
an awesome scene.
Well, let's go ahead and touch on that though before we forget about it though, because I'm going to forget about that. I really enjoyed that they actually went back and showed
The flashback of war.
gods and a great.
so wait.
Green
So the
Lantern.
gods were on like what god? Those Greek gods?
I think those are the Greek gods that supposedly
So
were killed
Zeus
by
and all them,
Ares
Hercules?
after they apparently defended the Earth. Yeah.
Okay, because I was a little
which
confused
shows,
by that.
Which shows the brilliance of Ares that
Well, that's true.
clearly they would have all been involved in defending the Earth against this alien threat, and then Ares proceeds to kill all of his fellow gods and make the Earth vulnerable. So it just shows how dumb the continuity is in these
Yeah.
movies.
Okay.
But it was cool seeing those gods hanging out.
I don't know.
with
I don't know how you botch your own continuity this bad.
so early on. Yeah.
Because the same thing with Superman's death. They showed at the end of the movie the rocks were kind of
Yeah,
fluttering.
flying off
Right.
So he was already going to come back, but instead, no. Now he's actually dead.
We're
now
gonna
we have
jumpstart him with a
we got to jumpstart with a
cosmic
mother,
cube.
and it's like, what? I thought you were setting up at the end of the last movie that he was kind of not dead already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you fucking backed
And
off.
I thought they were going to set up him working with Apocalypse and being resurrected by Darkseid. We have
Right.
the evil Superman in the blacks and silver and all that.
No, none of it.
honestly,
With the
I-
again,
Probably better
Why
off.
didn't they let him grow a beard instead of CGIing his mustache away?
Dude,
he
and
looks
that's-
so good with a
That's
beard.
another thing, man. I don't
Yeah.
think I heard a single word Henry Cavill said in this movie.
It's hard to look at his face.
I couldn't
the
stop
rubber.
looking at his horribly CGI'd face. That was some of the
Especially the video at the beginning was so funky.
the cell phone
Yeah.
video.
Major Uncanny Valley.
It should have looked better in the grainy cell phone video.
Right.
Instead, it looked even worse. But I'm like, have him just talk with his back to you. At least then I would have been like, oh, because he had a mustache, so they couldn't show it.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm just
It would
staring.
have been less distracting if they'd gone full Cesar Romero and just like pancake makeup over the damn thing.
You're telling me that couldn't have been a better alternative? Instead, they CGI'd from his like jaw to jaw. It was
Yeah.
the most weird.
Why wouldn't you just put like a green powder on the lip and just tweak it? You know.
Yeah, exactly. They should have put a green patch over his upper lip.
Instead, he had that fucking like Arnold Vosloo Mummy 2
Yeah,
thing going
that's
on.
exactly what it was. Because his forehead and cheekbones wouldn't really be moving, but his mouth was doing this weird jiggle, and I'm just staring at it like, oh shit, what did he say? Like I honestly didn't catch it because it looked so bad. I mean,
So
they
unnatural.
need to win an award. I don't know how. What Suicide Squad won an
Razzie.
Academy Award.
Razzie.
They need to win something for
Definitely
worst,
Razzies on that one.
worst special effects and just cut together. Which is why I think they must have cut every Snyder Superman scene out of this movie because I felt like every scene he had the jacked up face, which means they were all from the reshoots.
Possibly.
Did they completely cut everything?
I have no idea.
I really
kinda
want to see
suspect,
what
though,
they
'cause
released.
Everybody was expecting a very different take on Superman.
Well, you do know the mandate for this movie was it had to be under 2 hours. That was the mandate from the studio. They were not going to tolerate a movie over 2
not from the
which is-
beginning though.
No.
Yeah, well, that's kind of dumb too, because even the Marvel movies aren't 2 hours.
Yeah,
They
they
ju-
are.
they-
I think aren't they all over 2 hours now?
No, I'm
big-
saying that's what I'm saying. Even the Marvel movies are
Yeah,
two
but
and a half hours.
but the
Yeah.
biggest
I'm sorry.
complaint of the last one was it was almost 3 hours long, like two and a half hours.
Still
before-
struggled to make any kind of sense. Yeah.
And so from what I read, the mandate was 2 hours, and that's it. So that's why they say a lot of those cuts, the jumpiness comes from that because they're just like filler, take it out.
That's
filler,
what I-
take
that's
it
what
out.
I said
'cause,
earlier.
it's hilarious when you go back and you look at the trailers because there's like scenes in the movie that are cut as though like they literally like felt the need to just put the scene exactly as it was in the still reel or trailer
But okay.
in the movie, and then that's it. No elaboration at all. It's crazy.
But let's stick to the CGI. The other one was Flash when he runs is awful.
Yes.
He's just running in a blue room with some. It's terrible looking. And
what's-
I'm like, we've had 2 Quicksilver universe appearances, and the way Quicksilver ran in Avengers: Age of Ultron, and the way Quicksilver ran in the X-Men movies is better than whatever he's doing.
The way he runs in the TV show is way better than this.
Is it? I mean,
Because they do the classic red streak and
streak following him?
yeah, and then you'll
Way
go
better
you'll
visually.
go into where he's at, where everything else is slow, but he's running full speed. This one was just a lightning bolt, like hopping around with lightning bolts shooting off him, and I was just like,
Does he have electrical powers? No, because he's the Flash.
No, he does. Remember,
I know, but I mean, the whole thing is
Yeah.
I shouldn't be thinking about electricity to the detriment of the speed. The speed is the
well,
thing.
he did get his powers from being struck by electricity.
I get
it was
that, but I'm
just-
saying when you look at him, you don't think fast guy
True.
necessarily. You think electrical guy.
right?
Yeah,
It's
true.
almost like he's teleporting. He's
He actually
not.
even looks like Reddy Current, though, that little cartoon character they used to have to promote electricity.
No,
I
I
with
thought-
the fucking bullshit head thing of his.
I thought of
Dumb
Gremlins,
fucking
too.
rollerblade helmet thing he's got on.
I thought of Gremlins too, where that Gremlin turns electrical and he's like shooting all over the place. That's what I remember sitting there thinking, oh, this is kind of like Gremlins.
It's such a swing and a miss because I think there's still a lot of creativity that can be used in a running character and what you do when he's running that fast. And really, outside of him grabbing the Batarang, I didn't really feel like they took really advantage of any of
Oh
that.
yeah,
No.
every speedster in every one of these movies has been done better than the Flash.
Yeah,
was.
just
Both
really
Quicksilvers were
disappointing.
way cooler, way more interesting to look at visually, better representation of that power. So
And,
Well, I love the fact that
and
they're-
then finally, Cyborg looked just
Oh, yeah.
god
I
awful.
thought he was. That was actually something. I thought Cyborg looked okay. I didn't have a
You're,
problem.
you're out of your mind, and you may need to go get your prescription checked. He looked so.
Are you medicated?
So horrible, especially for a character. I mean, guys, how long ago did production start on this movie? I mean, come on.
I
dude.
hated that clunky Transformer look, that sharp angle.
I think that they maybe needed a little bit more practical him because he does kind of
Oh,
look like
yes.
a head floating on top of the robot body. I just thought
Except-
the robot body looked okay, but there was a very strong disconnect between his head and everything else.
Because I think his head was practical,
and
but it didn't
too
sit
skinny
right.
too. It's
His
like,
head, but
he
his
looks
head,
like an iRobot robot to some degree.
Oh, he looked way too skinny. But his head, the eye didn't sit right because it was a plastic piece stuck on his face. So because of the thickness of the plastic, you can tell it sat a little bit lower. So it was almost like he had this weird asymmetry between his good eye and his bad eye because it wasn't in his actual eye. It's a prosthetic stuck on. Like it was just a bad, cheap prosthetic stuck on. It looked so terrible, dude. And I'm like, how do you? And again, I still said I liked quote unquote the movie in the face of all this. I mean, and really bad CGI in 2017 will take me out of a movie.
It's very much a Shaggy Dog, like the Golden Child with Eddie Murphy kind of like appreciation, where it's like this is a fucking wreck, but I still enjoy it. It gets by on personality.
But I can look past the bad CGI on Cyborg because I thought generally he was a pretty likable character and he had a lot of good scenes, so I can look past the bad CGI. The Flash, I can't. There's no excuse for how bad the Flash looked. Henry Cavill mustache. I don't care that was done at the last second. That's still on you.
beard him.
Still on you. Put a beard on. Yeah, something.
He's already a brawny, hairy dude anyway. Go fucking Thor his ass up a little bit. Let him have the beard.
I'm sorry.
Little mullet action
There
too would
is
be good.
no excuse, and I wish it wasn't. It was just this movie. It's a pattern. All these movies look so terrible. Oh, when
Well, see, and I'll argue too. I'll argue like Wonder Woman. I think that it's stylized.
It's
in a way that
stylized.
I know you guys are going to just like get pissed in the moment, but it's stylized in a way that were called for me like the Ragnarok flashbacks as well, where it's intentionally not supposed to necessarily look realistic, and you may not like the aesthetic of that, but I think that that's a conscious choice that was
That's a read.
reasonably well realized. But this movie is just fucking horrible.
No,
CGI.
I don't
this
think
isn't a
there's-
stylistic work. It's just bad.
I honestly, I just don't think they used. I think they did a lot of CGI sets on Wonder Woman that looked a little crappy, but they did a lot of fogs and stuff like that. The Ares stuff was all garbage. It was as garbage as everything. That was all terrible. But like in this movie where she's standing on that statue in the beginning, it looks horrible, dude.
It looked
That's so
the shadows, the lighting was two different lightings.
It doesn't look right. And I'm telling you, how many of these how long of a contract did you sign with whatever shitbox? Is it some Warner Brothers house studio that they're doing this from? I mean, I don't get it, but I don't want to hear anybody bitch about effects in these Marvel movies compared to this stuff. This stuff is just low rent, low effort, just trash. And again, like I said, it's every single one of these movies look like this, and there is no excuse for it in 2017. And I refuse to give it any points and say, well, they had to speed up production. No, it looks like rat ass. The best looking scene I thought was when Batman was fighting the parademon in the very beginning. That one scene looked pretty good. The rest of it was just garbage. Just garbage.
But another comparison with Ragnarok is leaning into the Kirby, leaning away from the Kirby.
Oh,
leaning
absolutely.
away from the Kirby did not work very well. And I knew they were going to do this.
Timed.
I knew,
very poorly timed.
Yeah, especially 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later, you have a Kirby and you have the fourth world, and you have Thor's world, Asgard, and all that stuff, and and the celestial look, and you're just like, wow, that is. These are supposed to be all kind of similar looking characters. You could drop the fourth world parademons in some of the celestial
you should
stuff.
be able to. Yeah,
they've all got the circle and Hela and stuff. They all got the circles and the connecting things all over their costume. And man, you just had
it looks so good.
You
in
had
Ragnarok
to go to 1,000% in Ragnarok, and it's just rat trash over in JLA.
And I knew they were
are the
going to do this,
parademons
though.
like vampires or
No, look,
piranha?
I knew they were going to do this in this movie. Instead of embracing the Kirby, what they did is they embraced like some
Kirby-ish?
modern, grimdark versions. No, it's Injustice Gods Among Us. It's the New 52 Earth 2, where it's like this cool video game version of Steppenwolf and Parademons. But they completely just, I can't get to it. Steppenwolf, I think, looks fine because Kirby's design of Steppenwolf was never very good. The Steppenwolf they had in Superpowers was better. But the Parademons, as you know, they're themselves demigods. They're from Apocalypse. They're the minions of Darkseid, who are the lowest of, lowly beings on Apocalypse. But because they're fucking still demigods, as soon as they turn up on Earth, they should be more powerful than anybody.
That's what I thought.
And instead, they made it to where Steppenwolf apparently can zombify the fallen people in battles
they're
against
like
him.
dogs. They're like pets, almost.
He zombifies them, and then he puts them in the armor that lets them fly around. But they're basically like space zombies.
They're whites. They're the whites from Lord of the Rings.
White Walkers.
I mean, not Lord of the Rings. Sorry, the White Walkers from Game of Thrones. Sorry. Leave me hanging there, guys. Come on.
I was sitting there like, what are you talking about?
Where Steppenwolf can rise them after he defeats them.
I'm sorry, dude. Steppenwolf looks goofy, dude.
I thought he looked. I thought the design was fine, but the realization of the design was terrible.
The CG.
CGI was
I'm not
bad.
even saying the CG was bad. The character itself
There
was
wasn't
just
anything there.
bad. Like,
I felt like he
was
changed
generic, dude.
No, I felt like he changed from scene to. I didn't see other than his face. I didn't see consistency with the costume. Was there? I felt like there was a lot of.
all I remember is he had the bullhorns.
Like sometimes you thought he had cloven hooves, and other times he just had boots.
Right,
and I'm not sure what they were even. Yeah,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, no, he did. I think he was goat-ish at some points in time, and other times he wasn't. I just didn't get what they were. Again, Steppenwolf was the villain in this movie from the get-go, and I don't know how you don't have your shit on the right fucking page and can get your goddamn villain rendered correctly.
And he's just the bad guy. There's nothing else there.
And he wants to take over the world.
He's not as terrible as
Such a
Malachi
cool
because
idea.
at least he speaks English, so you can hear him talk. But he's really just one of the worst of all these superhero villains.
But yeah, I'm with you. I thought when the parademons were flooding, and that would be after Darkseid took over. Or
I really thought. Yeah.
So what's the Darkseid threat? He's going to bring more parademons.
I really thought at one point that Steppenwolf's going to be losing, Boom Tube is going to pop up, and Darkseid's going to be walking out.
I bet you that may have happened in the Snyder version.
In my head, I was thinking that's what's got to happen. They got to bring in Darkseid so you can see this big. They won't even show him. They'll show just the darkness and his eyes glowing as he's walking through the tube. And Superman grabs, Steppenwolf, throws him, closes the tube. They close it, but they realize something bad is coming, and they beat up some lame villain who gets attacked by his own pets and falls into a pit tube.
Where the hell did that come from? Too? They smell your fear, so they attack him.
I like the twist because they'd set up earlier that's what they do. That's why Batman's scaring the guy in the beginning is because he knows it's going to attract a parademon because his fear is going to.
So shouldn't those four Russian people been murdered because they were shitting pants?
Not just that.
And they're surrounded by. Dude, those things would have ripped that house apart and eaten eaten them alive.
I know, dude. I'm just saying.
I can't give you that.
You called
and
back.
then you give me like 15 minutes of a Russian family shitting bricks in a house in the middle of their hive, and you're like, but wait, but this criminal, like, he shit his pants for like 2 minutes because Batman has him over the edge, and that's enough to track him. But you got 4 people. I can't give it to you.
I know, dude. I
But
know.
I just like, and then the guy,
It's a
because
stretch.
I thought they were on a different rooftop. The guy hops over and talks to Batman some
Yeah,
more.
and he's like,
Good.
dude, they do that because he's gone, right? And I'm just like, you're a criminal. Shut the fuck up. Like, dude, you should
Yeah.
be thankful that you weren't eaten.
And then
Batman's
they
like,
blow up to
I
become
didn't
leave the clue of the 3 boxes.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck
Oh,
is this
yes.
shit?
I didn't say
You're
the movie
stretching,
didn't
bro.
have a lot of
You don't
problems.
stretch usually, but
The
you're stretching
problem
right now.
but the scene was over so fast. If we
See, that's what you're like.
If we had
You're
thir- if
the
we
one
had-
that you want that quick hit, and you're like, I took it. Let's move on.
Yeah, this movie
But-
is like the definition of ADHD filmmaking.
Yeah,
It's easier-
And
I'm
for me,
s-
I have ADD, and even I was like, no.
look, and I'm
Slow
and,
down.
and here's the deal.
No, but
man.
don't slow down because you could smell the shit. As long as you're driving through the country, the shit's not necessarily
Yeah.
going to go up your nose.
I had time to
You-
roll
you-
my windows up, and
Yeah.
we got through it. So, but what I'm saying is that it showed some at least continuity within its own movie, where it was like, see, we're calling back. We've established that fear attracts them. Nobody cares the stupid Russian family didn't get killed. I'm sorry that all tore you up. They didn't. Oh, we got to
But
make
dude,
sure
you
the Russian.
can't tell me fear and then
No.
have showing fear.
So then they show Steppenwolf, who has conquered all of these people his whole life. It's the strength of the Justice League finally is what scared the shit out of him, because they finally
Well,
whipped
actually,
his
no.
ass.
It was Superman, because he even said the Kryptonian is here. He wasn't scared of the Justice League the entire movie until Soup showed up, which is
It's uniting the team is what scared him, and
Still
the
don't think he's
fear
scared of
turned
the
in
other team.
his parademon. Now he obviously showed he was more than powerful enough to destroy these parademons that you can shoot with a gun and kill. I get that. I'm telling you, I get all that. But that's the quick. They planted a little seed in the beginning, and they came back to it at the end. I'm telling you, and I'm not saying my enjoyment of this movie was not tempered by how bad the previous movies were and how bad the reviews were. And I went in with as low a
which is the way to do it.
which is the way to do it. I was going in ready to Mystery Science Theater this bad boy. And I'm telling you, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. And in the process...
Was it that good?
I didn't say it was that good.
It's fun. It's entertaining.
It was entertaining. I thought it was entertaining. I thought the characters had chemistry.
I think it was serviceable for me.
That's
At
fine.
best.
It's okay.
That's fine.
I think that's a reasonable a way to. My problem with it.
Serviceable is better than 90% of the reviews.
Right.
No.
And there's so much anger still, and it's like, chill out, guys. They're working on it. They're going in the right direction. It's not a shit show like so many of these other movies. It's not Suicide Squad, guys. Chill
Actually,
out.
they went there whenever fucking Aquaman's swimming and they start playing the Red
The musical
Stripe song.
cues, yeah.
I was like, oh my god, they're gonna do the theme songs. Everyone's gonna have their theme song in a minute. And then that was a really weird scene because they played it until he shows up.
Actually, one thing I'm looking forward to doing is I missed a lot of. I know that they took a lot of cues from the cartoons for each of the individual character. I wonder if they have the Aquaman 60s theme in there.
Well, I know.
and missed it.
I heard the Batman theme.
Yeah.
I heard the Superman theme. You can't miss Wonder Woman's theme. I didn't hear a Flash theme.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing that. But didn't Elfman actually score the 90s Flash show?
I don't know.
I'm sure he worked in that. He was trying to make sure he worked as much of that stuff in there as he
Really?
could, it seemed like. Because I'll tell you this, too. I am very critical of Danny Elfman themes. I get so tired of the sameness of it, and he was so omnipresent, especially in the 90s. But I actually like the scoring in this movie.
I don't know, man.
I didn't really notice it, other than the cheesy, other than the cheese ball musical cues of Wonder Woman and Batman, and when he went underwater and they started doing the.
But that's exactly the kind of cheese you should have from a Super Friends movie, so I'm happy about that.
I know, but it wasn't intentional cheese
No.
like that.
No, I think it was intentional cheese.
No. I think this is Wonder Woman's theme, so we got to play it whenever she shows up on screen. Yeah, I think that's all that was.
But
and
that's a very Super Friends, very Just League kind of thing, and it makes me
You're
happy.
no prize. You're no prizing bad musical cues. Which again, they've got.
I
like,
just- well, I
can't make
disagree with you, though.
I can't make excuse for bad effects. I can't make excuse for bad musical cues because they have bad musical cues in all of these films. These are all they don't know how to use music. That's the one thing where they've
I
been
like
trying.
some of Hans Zimmer stuff from
Where
the
they've
other
been
movies,
trying.
too.
They've been trying to copy Marvel from the beginning
Yeah.
with the music stuff, and they
Marvel just dominates the fuck out of
No, Marvel music was
Dude,
shit for a long
dude.
time.
I heard
the early
Brandy
scores
last
in the Marvel movies.
I
were
heard
shit.
Brandy the song last night on my way home.
Dude,
and I'm
Guardians
like,
is obviously the exception, though,
Well-
man. Only in the recent movies has Marvel had decent scores. It was one of the things that maybe you guys have forgotten. In the early days, one of the things that they used to pick on Marvel was the muted color palette and the shitty score. Okay,
Yeah, Iron Man's is terrible. I know.
Iron Man is AC/DC. Will always be AC/DC.
but that's a long time.
that's
ago.
source though. We're not talking about source. We're talking about score.
Oh, score? Well, dude, to me, if you're going to do score, the greatest one will always be Batman 1989. I hear that song. If I see Batman,
Which is the same composer. Danny
I
Elfman.
here completely, and Superman. But those are, I mean, no one else, I mean, did Cap ever have a score?
I thought the music was bad, and it wasn't aided by the fact this movie was cut together from 3 different movies. It's just, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
Something else I wanted to bring up too, what you were talking about, as far as the finale. Well, one, my understanding is that Snyder had directed the first Justice League with the intention of it being a double movie, where you're going to come back like the following year or so to see the conclusion. So my suspicion was always that the movie was going to end with Darkseid showing up with evil Superman in tow, and you weren't going to see Superman until the very end when he was, he showed that it was one of his minions now. I thought that was going to be the moment of horror that was going to end the movie in a cliffhanger. Whether or not they ever filmed that, or whether or not that was even a thing that actually was going to happen, and maybe it was just a fan rumor, I don't remember at this point. It doesn't matter because it didn't, it's not relevant anymore. But I think that's where they were going to go. But Paquita kept waiting for the villain to show up at the end of the movie. She kept waiting for Mother to show up. They kept talking about Mother and where's Mother.
Right. That's the box.
She doesn't know that though. And without having a background in DC stuff.
Remember what I told you? Normies aren't going to get shit like that.
Well, but I thought that they were referencing someone else.
Well, no, you're talking about the way the three sisters and Apocalypse's
the female Furies?
Yeah, the female
like
Furies.
Granny Goodness in them?
Granny Goodness who's kept popping
up. A lot of people thought, no, because I have friends of mine that were saying, in the cartoon, wasn't there a character named Mother? And I'm thinking, no, it's Granny Goodness. That's her.
That's
but they're thinking that's Mother. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So
you can see, though, even people that are familiar with the cartoons and stuff are getting confused. So, yeah, and like Paquita, this is a problem I had with the movie a lot, too, because it's so dense with the information that they only tell you one time, and then that's it. You occasionally drift off, or you're like you're thinking about, oh, this is something I want to talk about when we talk about the movie, and I'll come back, it's like, I just missed something important, didn't I? I'm going to have to watch the movie again just because they go through stuff so much. Somehow Paquita managed to miss, like, almost the entirety of the ancient world flashback, and everything about who Steppenwolf was, and how the Parademons came into being.
Dude, that's kind of hard to miss. That's really long.
No, it's really not. It's only like 2 minutes long. So
I forgot about it until you brought it up. When you brought up the Green Lantern stuff?
Yeah, because that's the only time we see Green Lantern, which is another to be continued.
Well, no, that one got me because I saw Green Lantern. I'm like, oh my God, Green Lanterns are like...
But it bothered me because the Mother Boxes are a cool concept. Again, it's a Kirby concept, and it's something that I think would be very unique and very DC. But unfortunately, they just turned them into Infinity Stones, and they have these 3 Infinity Stones. And again, Zack Snyder's fixation on Christian theology, it's a trinity, and they're going to create the unity, and the unity is going to turn Earth into a world like my birthplace that we're never going to name. And it's like, that's not remotely what Mother Boxes are. Mother Boxes are basically like the 1970s supercharged versions of your iPhone. That's what a Mother Box is. And that would have been kind of a cool thing to play with. And instead, it's just a goddamn Tesseract. And it's not even as interesting as a Tesseract because you have to have 3 of them, and they don't do anything besides terraform out of, so...
You mean
shitty.
the same concept they had in the first Superman movie where they're just going to terraform the Earth to make it the new Krypton?
Well, the Man of Steel movie.
Yes,
please, that's not the first Superman movie.
I'm sorry.
Damn far side.
Well, I don't consider those, like Batman 89, I don't consider them part of the DCU.
And that's an area where
I'm Superman, I don't consider those, the original Christopher Reeves, those are not part of the DCU.
Yes, it is. It all is. Really? It all counts. I don't fucking care what they try to say about the DCEU. It all counts because there's so much shit that they do with Superman in this movie that only pays off if you know Superman from other things. I think that there is a multiverse and that all of DC shit counts in some fashion.
Like the ice breath. Had he ever used the ice
breath?
Nope.
Yeah. This was the first time I ever saw it.
Yeah. So
the originals, yes. The originals, he blows out fire. Yeah. That's how he takes out fire.
I mean, we know that.
It all counts. It's all Superman. Okay. It's all the lore of Superman, and it's all.
So we're heading
part
toward Infinity. What was their big?
No, because it's all gonna. Again, this is a thing that's important. I think that they need to understand this when it comes to DC characters. Marvel characters are soap opera and they're continuity driven. DC characters are folklore and they're about the yarn. They're about the tale. It's not about a continuity from tale to tale. In mythology contradicts itself all the time. It's all about telling a great big epic scope, fun, hopefully moral story in this one setting, in this one time. And if you contradict it later on, it doesn't matter because it's fucking folklore. You just have to make sure you have the core of the character. Superman's really super fucking powerful. And you do all this incredible stuff. And he's really a good guy. And Wonder Woman's really super caring. And she's, and the Flash is fun and he's smart. And you just have to get those superficial elements. The DC characters are iconic in the most literal sense where they're icons. They're not necessarily having to be fully fleshed out like multi-dimensional characters. You just have to get the basics of them and have them do fun shit, and then that's DC. The more you try to make them superhuman, like not like super dash human, but like too human, 2 feet of clay, that's when you turn them into Marvel characters. They work better when they're just big and iconic and you're just telling these great fun stories with them that don't rely on continuity and they don't rely on deep psychological stuff. Marvel is the midline. line. DC for me works best when in two extremes, either really kiddie and really family friendly, or really dark and mature and sophisticated. They don't work very well in that middle ground because that relies on continuity, that relies on a lot of structure, and I don't think DC thrives in structure. I think that we've seen that a lot. DC thrives on emotion and fun and kind of kid logic, even dream logic at times. The more you try to pin down the DC characters, they don't work because they're just fundamentally unrealistic.
They're gods.
Yeah. So you that's why you have little radioactive rocks that take away your powers or make your head turn into an ant head or whatever the fuck, because it functions on that childlike logic best, especially the superhero side of the spectrum. You have to play it more for the kids, and that doesn't mean you do like the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies, but you don't want to get hung up on minutia. As long as it feels good, and as long as it's entertaining, and as long as it's appropriate for all audiences, then you're doing DC right, I think.
Real quick, I meant to bring this up earlier. I thought it was kind of weird that there were so many Watchmen like references in here.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh shit, look, it's Dr. Manhattan. Yeah. He's the Flash's dad. Or whenever Batman is flying the ship and he puts on the goggles, I thought it was the owl from Watchmen. I was like, dude, that looks exact. If he didn't have the bat symbol, I swear to God that was the costume. And there was I think two more moments I saw where I was like, are they hinting that look, Watchmen are really here?
I'll add that to something I didn't like too. Those prison scenes were so painful to watch. Ezra Miller's, no, but I'm trying to get a job. I can't get a job or whatever. I'm like, what is?
No, he's got 4 jobs. They're not any good jobs.
Your job's not any good. You're gonna just forget me, kid. And I'm just like, what am I watching?
Yeah. Not just that,
painful.
That's totally like a dark room with like one small piece of furniture that indicate that they're in a prison. There's nothing else in there, right?
Except for the guard.
There's like a blurry guard in the background.
Yeah.
It was so awful.
It looked like a stage play.
You gotta forget me, kid, and just move on with your life. And I'm trying to get a law degree, and I'm gonna bust you out of here, or whatever he was trying to do. Trying to get into a crime scene blast.
Oh no, he's a forensics.
That's what it was. Yeah. I was like, I don't need any of this. This is something else you should have cut out. Like, I guess it was nice at the end where he's like, hey, Dad, I got a job. And it's like, well, okay, son. What? Okay. We're all rad. I guess so.
So I think you're way too heavy-handed with Ragnarok and way too lenient on this one, but because you came out that day, you were just like, hey, and I'm just like, dude,
I didn't hate Ragnarok. I just
the whole
wasn't.
How dare they kill Volstagg without a real funeral pyre?
Yeah, I was just like,
they killed the Warriors 3 who were established in the prior 2 movies and just cast them aside.
Hey, how about this though?
What about Baldur the Brave?
Hey, how about this? Fucking Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where they take a fucking character that you don't necessarily give 2 shits about.
Which one?
And in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Which character?
Which character
Do you think I'm talking about?
I don't know, man, because you have...
Who dies in Guardians of the Galaxy?
You meant Yondu?
Yeah.
Yondu was not Baldur the Brave.
No. But Yondu was an antagonistic presence in the first movie that they made a point of building up in this movie so that when he dies, it matters to you, and it's a tearjerker moment, and it's just fucking Yondu.
You are so off base here.
No.
Because Thor 1 and 2 are not Guardians 1, okay? Thor 1 and 2 are widely regarded as the worst Marvel movies that nobody cares about, and they spend a bunch of shitty time with a bunch of shitty characters nobody cares about, so they do away with those shitty characters, and you come out here and you're like, well, they just cast them aside. They cast them aside. How could you just do that? Because nobody gives a shit about these characters, and I guarantee you we can cue it up a million times.
And that's my fucking problem with Ragnarok in a nutshell, is I don't feel like they cared about any of the fucking characters, and that's why I was divorced from the fucking movie. But we're not doing a Ragnarok podcast, so fuck off with that shit.
It's okay.
Sorry for the spoilers to several Marvel movies that have nothing to do with Justice League.
It's okay to not care about movies if you didn't care about the movies.
Okay, so then let's finish off with these horrible stingers.
Okay, we can talk about these terrible stingers.
Oh, okay. I like them both, actually.
See, dude, you're just giving this movie a fucking pass.
No.
You're giving it a pass.
No, here's the problem, dude. You're a Marvel fan who likes Batman. Batman got shit on throughout this fucking movie.
And the Flash.
Total fucking punk. And you're a fan of the Flash. And you're a fan of Green Lantern. And you know what one of my big problems with this movie is? Part of the fucking ad campaign is Unite the Seven. It's always been a big thing, or at least in my fandom, it's always been a big deal that you have the original 7 Justice League members. Even when they tried to turn it into 5, there was something so iconic about, no, we're going to go back to the 7. That was like a sea change. That's when JLA suddenly happened, and it's like, yes, we're going back to the classic Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and a 7th character that you can kind of play plug in and out depending on which one you want to do. I'll admit Martian Manhunter. You can
Yes, I
replace
know.
Martian Manhunter. I can deal with that. I'm not happy about it. I'm never going to love Cyborg to even a fraction of as much as I love Martian Manhunter. But I understand that 7th slot can be in flux. But how do you make a Justice League movie, the first ever Justice League movie, without a fucking Green Lantern in it?
No, I know.
You know? So.
Oh, no, they showed one.
And they do have a Green Lantern. He's part of the Avengers of the year 2000 BC or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
The 1 million year BC Avengers. But you don't get a Green Lantern in a movie about the Justice League. How even the cartoon got that right, you know? The cartoon.
Well, no, I think honestly,
the cartoon
DC,
had 7
Well, no,
members.
DC looked at what Marvel was doing, and they're like, we can't do that many characters. We don't.
They couldn't
because-
have one more character.
Yeah,
Hey, again,
It's going to break them if they have one more character. They could have Green Lantern show up at the very end the way Superman does. Like, oh, by the way, here's a Green Lantern.
Do we know they didn't and it got cut?
Oh, I'm still hoping.
Well, let me ask you this.
Because they were talking about Armie Hammer maybe being
Yeah.
a Green Lantern, which I would not be a fan of. But
let me ask you this: when they release this movie, which when they do,
I have such a boner to
how
see what they're going to do for this.
How many versions are they going to release? Are you going to get the theatrical, the Snyder, and then the uncut Whedon? Or
I hope they do a
Actually-
full fucking the Donner cut with Snyder shit because that's an entirely different movie.
I
And
think it
even
would
if
be a
I
different
hate
movie.
it, I want to see it just as part of my science project.
Can we say what was the first stinger?
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
the first stinger is Flash and Superman.
and that horrible
racing.
CG.
Where they're going to have the
With
race.
his face was all jacked
Yes.
up. And the second stinger was
Oh, that was so fucking horrible.
But we'll come back to that. So the reason why I love that first stinger
was good. It was
is
fine.
because, again, it's a classic DC
Oh, yeah.
moment, and it's a very feel-good DC, super frenzy, lighthearted kind of thing. And for you as a Marvel guy who likes a few DC characters, but the more Marvel versions of the DC characters, that's sort of exactly what you don't like about the DC universe. And you guys are like the fucking invaders that turn DC into a Marvel proxy. to a
No,
large
we're
degree.
the ones that inject
So-
decency into a fucking chaotic world.
Two different philosophies.
I thought the scene was cute because they've done it in the cartoon.
Yeah.
and I always thought it was
Oh,
funny in
yeah,
the
it's an
cartoon.
iconic moment.
I mean, at one point you had Superman fighting fucking Muhammad Ali. Okay, so I get that DC's like we're fantasy land, like we're we don't really touch many social subjects. We're more of about a fantasy world. I get
Well,
that.
so when they do, and they did it pretty well for their times.
But that scene I thought was cute. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was kind of like tagged on. It was
Well,
just
it's a
tagged on.
stinger.
It's a stinger.
And I
That's
hated
what
the
they dar.
but I hate the no, because most stingers have some kind of payoff.
They're the shitty sting again.
cares?
I hate to keep comparing to Ragnarok. Ragnarok has shitty fucking stingers though, dude.
Oh, see, but that's the thing. Y'all haven't seen the other trailer. That's why when I told you we walked out, I'm like, wait, what? And y'all were like, what? And I said, I can't tell you because y'all going to get pissed at me because I'm the fucking spoiler. But that leads to something that you're like, oh, I get it. I get
Right,
it.
but that's just it.
But you
The big dumb ship. I watched the Infinity War trailer. I told you I saw it last time.
I didn't.
I wasn't very impressed by what I saw of it either. But also, again, that only works if I've seen 3 other things where Batman and Superman Superman and the Flash are going to have a race.
Yeah.
It's self-contained.
It was a nice
it's an amusing moment. There's no big fucking continuity thing. It's not setting up a bunch of fucking sequels. It's just a nice, fun moment.
Okay.
And I'm happy with it for just exactly that.
It was the Howard the Duck moment in Guardians.
I guess,
Right.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
And then
I'll give you
the
that. You're
second
right.
stinger
Okay, so I'm shitting on it too much.
this was
Fucking
totally that was Snyder. 100% that was Snyder. We get the old fucking Jesse fucking Eisenberg
Ding, 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 ding.
with his fucking shaven head, confirming that yes, we're going to stick with this motherfucker as Lex Luthor, even though this is almost universally pointed to as like one of the worst things they've done.
Yeah.
Although I did hear a couple as we were walking out of our showing talking about I like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. I don't know why everybody had so much trouble
They're
with
fucking
it.
normies,
The
why.
wife was saying that.
Because they forgot.
Fucking normies.
Yeah. But Lex Luthor has escaped from prison and he's on a boat and he's visited by, and I assume that's Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Was it specifically that actor though?
Yeah, it was.
And so Deathstroke comes, at first I thought, oh, Deathstroke broke Lex Luthor out of prison. That's cute. And I thought they were just going to show that little hint of Deathstroke on the boat, but then they actually go onto the yacht and they're actually hanging out and talking and bullshit. And Lex Luthor's like, now to create my reverse Justice League, which again, they didn't have that in old DC comic. You know, DC had a bunch of prefab teams they ever did the whole evil version of until the Legion of Doom on the cartoons and on Super
Yeah.
Friends. But they're going to go ahead and start making a Legion of Doom, and I'm totally on board for that. I'm totally hyped.
But see,
for that.
wait. But then I have a question then. So now are they putting Darkseid's storyline on the back burner? Because the next one's going to probably be the
that,
Justice.
You know what I think? What they're going to do? I think after all of the
Dude, wait, how great would it be if they it was Steppenwolf, he's defeated. Let's go somewhere else. Let's just go.
I think that'd be the smart play big time.
Because
we're not
in the Marvel books,
because it's Thanos and the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, well, because they've built up. Marvel built it up to that. Where DC's, I still called the shot. Where they're catching up and they're just like, what is it? They're reacting to everything that Marvel does and building around that, which is always weird. But now they're gonna like, well, Darkseid's not gonna work out because Thanos. So let's go with the insert whatever evil group.
And
the crime syndicate or
no, I want it to be the Legion of Doom. I don't want it in Justice
It's gonna be it's not even gonna be that cool. It's gonna be some stupid like the Unjustice League or something stupid like that.
But no, I totally agree with that. And again, even Paquita, whether from our podcast or from Osmosis or from the degree to which you watch superhero stuff, even she's like, aren't they already doing that? The guy's collecting the stones, and then the guy's he's a big guy and he's gonna come and fight him. So even she's like thinks it's played out. So they really need to not do Darkseid. I think you're totally right. But I think what happened is they saw the direction the DCEU was going, and they were already starting to line up. Okay, if this one flops, we're gonna have a Batman in the pipeline. We're totally doing a Batman. We're totally doing a Batman. And now Batman's kind of in the distance because they're still trying to. They want to make sure that when they do a Batman movie, it's gonna be rock solid. They're not gonna try to rush that shit and fuck up because they know they've always got Batman as their fallback position if they need him, right? But I do think that when we do get a Batman movie, it's gonna be Batman versus Deathstroke, which they've been teasing for a while now, and I think that they're gonna use the Injustice League, Legion of Doom, whatever. I think they're gonna use that as their Thanos. I don't think it's gonna be the next Justice League movie is gonna be that. I think they're smart. They're gonna seed that out over a whole bunch of movies, and like whoever the villain is in the next Wonder Woman movie will be in the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Deathstroke will be in the Legion of Doom. All these guys are set up for solo movies.
Now the thing I heard, which it kind of made sense to me, is the Flash movie is supposed to be based on the Paradox. Flashpoint.
Yeah. Well, were you saying the Flashpoint Paradox because that was the name of the cartoon adaptation?
Yeah. And so my understanding is that's kind of like a big where they're kind of pushing it toward that. If they do that, then of course this will all make sense. Like that's their reset button because they can get rid of Affleck and bring in anyone else to play Batman because it's all of a sudden.
Which again, though, I think that Marvel's about to do their reset button.
Yeah.
They've earned it more. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Because I feel like that's what they're going to do because of course in the Flashpoint.
Well, because right now Flashpoint is kind of in a weird limbo too.
Oh, is it?
They've kind of like, well, we're gonna kind of work on it, but we're not at the same pace we were at when we were going to work on it. And so it's sort of like, I think it's very much a wait and see. And I've heard that if Justice League doesn't do the numbers they needed to do, given that they filmed 2 enormous budget movies back to back, because this is very much an Exorcist 4 situation where you've basically got 2 entire movies created that and then they try to chop them all together to its benefit ultimately. Maybe if they chop the Rennie Harlan and the other anyway. But they need this movie to make a certain amount of money, and and I think that maybe you don't get the Flashpoint if they don't make a certain.
So let's
amount of money.
go from that point. Let's go to Mac. Mac, how did it do?
So it was estimated to hit 110 this weekend, which would be under Thor. Thor did I think 121.
Yeah, and less conservative estimates got up as high as like 140 at various points.
96.
That's his current. It's going to hit. So and that's better or worse than Wonder Woman.
I don't care.
I think that'd be worse.
No, if you check the front page on Box Office Mojo, it'll tell you. I think it might be parallel to it.
103 for Wonder Woman. 3-day total was 103 for Wonder Woman versus 96 for Justice League.
So it's underperforming Wonder Woman, which was not as big out of the gate. It did so much better than everybody was expecting, but nobody expected to do anything near as good as the Superman, Man of Steel, as Suicide Squad, as BVS, and it did way better than everybody was fearing and expecting. So Justice League did less than that.
Yeah.
So that's a thing.
96 is bad, especially when you
anything under 100 for the kind of money they put into this, and then how many different franchises are all in this together. I mean, what did Avengers 1 do?
Oh, it was way into the triple digits, and that's a long time ago now, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, if you
I can look it up.
convert
that was like
inflation.
what 6-7 years ago now that the Avengers came out.
That long?
I think maybe even longer, in fact, because Avengers 2010. Yeah, it was like 2010, 2011, something like that.
Jesus Christ, man, time is flying.
Because remember, we've had like 2.5 Avengers movies since then, and
Marvel's Avengers 2012.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? As shitty as this movie, I do feel sad that it didn't make the money it needed to make.
May 4th through 6th, $207 million.
Jesus Christ! Oh my God, dude, that's just.
I don't know if that's worldwide or what, but 207.
So does Justice League make a bill? Does it get a B?
Does Justice League? No way.
Does it get a be?
No. There's no
Does
way.
it- does it
No
have
way.
legs?
No way does this movie hit B. Batman Superman didn't hit B.
I think the fanboys will go out there. You DC fanboys are going to go out there hard for it because y'all.
Obviously, they didn't.
No, they'll go, dude. I know they're going to get at least see it 4 or 5
Nobody's
times.
repeat watching this movie.
don't
Fuck
think so?
off.
I can see seeing it again.
Give me a break. This isn't good. Wonder Woman didn't even get.
I'd rather watch it on video,
Did Wonder
though.
Woman hit a bill?
No, it did not.
How many repeat watches did Wonder Woman get?
Right. And then Suicide Squad didn't hit a bill either.
And it opened higher.
That's true.
I mean, there's no way. And then it's going to run into Star Wars. This thing's going to get
Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah,
Oh,
well, then
yeah.
not just that, I think Ragnarok's going to continue to eat at it too, because I think Ragnarok's going to have more legs.
Wonder was 2 at the box office this week, but only narrowly beat Ragnarok. Ragnarok still had 20-something million this weekend. I mean, there's no way this movie touches $1 billion.
I'm taking moms to go see it this week. Like she really
Justice
wants to see
League
it.
or
No,
Ragnarok?
Ragnarok.
Yeah, Ragnarok's got legs that maybe Justice League won't have. So I think Ragnarok could erode it, but certainly Star Wars is going
Well,
to kill
the
it.
funny thing to me was, so we had a family dinner the other day, and as we're all there, my mother walks up and says, we were talking about the movies, and Ragnarok came up, and she's like, yeah, we're going to go see it. I'm like, yeah, we'll go see it. Like, I'll take you to go. I told her I want to take you to go see it, because I think mom's going to love it.
Yeah, I think your mom's going to love the movie.
She loved Doctor Strange. She's going to love Ragnarok, because it's just her type of humor. Like, real deadpan fun humor. Like, good movie humor. So we'll see.
So, I mean, it looks like...
So, do you think we're getting a sequel now, or no?
Oh, we're going to get a sequel. Given it's a guarantee you're going to get a Justice League sequel.
This what's weird is that I feel like for the most part people are liking the movie. Like regular people are liking the movie, kind of like they did with Suicide Squad.
I think it's going to play well on video and on cable.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to make their money back.
No, they're not going to make the money back necessarily, but I think it's
No, they
going
will,
to
dude.
have. It's being punished for Batman versus Superman, and I think that it'll
look, man. But look. Okay,
No,
if
it's
you
got
walked
Wonder
in,
Woman
I'm not saying if somebody walked in this movie and said, "Oh man," because you got the people who like Batman versus Superman, they like the dark stuff.
Yeah.
And then all those people are going to look at this and be like, "This is half-ass Marvel bullshit.
Oh,
I don't
guaranteed.
like this at all." And then you're going to have the Marvel people who look at this and are like, "Nice try."
this Batman Marvel bullshit.
And so they're not going to like it either. I could totally see how a lot of people are like, I don't want to see any more DC movies. And you've already pared that group down after Batman vs. Superman. There are a lot of people who saw Batman vs. Superman and are like, I don't want to see any more DC movies. This movie should have seen a bump after Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah.
Wonder Woman is in all these freaking trailers. It should have seen a bump after. And this might be with a Wonder Woman bump, 96 million.
Oh, yeah.
Like, bro. So that's where I feel weird when I'm considering the future of these movies, because I'm saying I kind of want to see a Cyborg movie now. Whereas before I was like, Cyborg, man.
I don't know. It's a Cyborg
Aquaman,
movie.
I'm still have no interest in seeing Aquaman and Mirror. I don't care about any of that stuff.
Flash?
I don't really want to see a Flash movie.
No, I do not want to see a Flash movie. I can avoid it.
Right. So we feel that way about the future of these movies. Ben Affleck's tapping out. That movie's all up in the air. And then this movie's going to kind
Well,
of...
no, we're definitely getting a Batman movie.
It's not bombing.
I don't think we're going to get a Batfleck movie, but we're definitely getting a Batman
But
movie.
whereas it was going to be Ben Affleck's going to write, direct,
Right, yeah.
produce, like he was,
Yeah.
and now he may not even be in it. Like that's a problem with that movie. Flash.
I think
does Flash
honestly, I
have-
think maybe they need him to not be in it. I think they need that palate cleanser of a new actor.
I think if they would have had him maybe 10 years, if he was 10 years younger, probably. But he's
I
just not.
still say they fucked up. They should have done the Frank Miller Batman with him, the old gray hair, the old soldier.
kinda
No, they
did.
thought they did. They thought they did.
No, he was still.
No, I think.
But they need to go 180
Dude,
away from that.
Let me tell you why you're wrong. Because these movies, they knew from the beginning they're building a universe where the Cyborg movie was going to be 2018, 2019, 2020. Why are you recruiting a Batman who's old? Ben Affleck is old. He cannot be around. So you've already got a timeline established where you're going to have to swap your
And
actor
worse
out
than
after
that,
2 movies.
worse than that, you could still get Ben Affleck, but you don't call attention to his age.
Well-
and that's the first thing they do in the first movie in this continuity is, man, Batman's an old dude.
Well, no, but see, the
I'm
thing
going to
is,
have
the
to
thing
put
is-
I'm gonna have to
armor.
quit
But
this
the thing is,
soon.
the thing is, I watched the cartoons. If you watched Batman Beyond and Batman was like a trainer, that was actually kind of cool because he was this old, grumpy war veteran. And you had these young soldiers, this young guy that's like, oh, I can do it.
Yeah, you know,
and he just beat the shit out of him. He's like, he beat him into a weapon because he's like, you're doing it wrong. You're doing this wrong. And the Terry McGillis character were like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, and he would have flashbacks of like him fighting the Joker and stuff. Dude, that was a great idea for Batman. You don't have to have him in a suit. You make him,
You do. You got to have Batman in a suit because these are movies that cost hundreds of millions of dollars to market and produce. You got to have fucking Batman in your movies.
Not just
this
that,
is a
but Batman
cartoon,
Begins was
Elseworld.
an opportunity for the Batman creative team from their animated series to do a Spider-Man cartoon. Batman Beyond a Spider-Man.
Right. You cannot do. These are. It's not like we're about to hit Phase 5 of the DC movies,
True. No,
and now
that's
you
true.
can phase back. This franchise is still in its infancy. It feels like it's been going on forever, but this is its infancy, man. This is the first time they got all these characters together, and you're already talking about, we just gotta have Batman where he kind of retires and sits up. No, dude, they need Batman to be at the forefront with Superman and Wonder Woman, and they're already acting like they already have to switch
So where
them
did they
out.
drop the ball? Because apparently they have like Jeff Johns now in there, and they're gonna bring Bendis in, and they're gonna help shape the DCU.
They dropped the ball when they tried to continue guy. What's his name? The guy who did the Batman movie, Christopher Nolan. When they tried to apply the Christopher Nolan aesthetic to the entire DC universe, and when they brought in Zack Snyder, who couldn't get Watchmen over to do a Batman vs Superman movie, or actually just to do a Superman movie, when the guy doesn't really, and there are people that argue that I don't feel like he's ever was the right guy for Superman. He's the Batman guy. I think he could do a really cool Batman movie. I think he could do a really cool. He could have been doing a good Suicide Squad movie. Honestly, I think that's just where Snyder's
real dark
is.
Suicide. I could see that.
He's not the guy you get do your team movie. They didn't understand that because they were trying so hard to continue Christopher Nolan's legacy and to show how different they were going to be from Marvel. We're going to do the serious, dark, sophisticated movies, and they didn't have the writing for starters. The writing wasn't good enough. If you'd had the Nolan brothers working on the writing side, that would have been okay. Zack Snyder's not a good writer,
but that
fucking,
in its
or fucking David Goyer played out motherfucker 20 years after he was relevant, bringing his ass in there again. They got the wrong people.
But
I don't think it's a bad idea. I think that I can see doing DC's the more sophisticated, more heavy universe. I can kind of understand where that could work. I don't agree with it. I don't want to see those movies, but I can see how it could work. They just had the wrong people behind it.
The problem though is that is you're still letting Marvel influence how you do your movies. Which when you have Batman and Superman, you don't need to have Marvel tell you how to do anything. And that's they're being reactionary, and now they're copying. They just you need to go into a vacuum and do your own thing, and they can't do it. They can't do it. So now
they're way too many cooks.
They need to, totally. They need to jump on the Marvel bandwagon hardcore. And unfortunately though, I think it looks like it might be too late. I think this movie's gonna.
But it's just like you said though. If they try to do Marvel, A, it's poor man's Marvel, and B, then you alienate the people that love the movies that preceded this. So I'm not sure that's
they're so dude. They've so painted themselves into this corner.
That fan base that wants that darker, dude, that's a really small group. Dude.
It's not, dude.
No, there are a lot of people.
Go look at freaking like reviews, like the Metacritic kind of stuff for Batman vs Superman, dude. The freaking fan stuff, it's like 99%. They get off on those freaking movies, and they're terrible. People will fight you over Batman vs Superman. They swear to you it is an amazing, just brilliant film. Obviously, it wasn't, because if it was, people would have shown up for this movie.
Well, not necessarily, because they very much diluted that vision.
No, because no. Then I would say second weekend it would fall off. It would have had a big opening weekend.
Just look at the trailers. You know, the trailer. This movie was always being sold as Marvel Light, even when Snyder was 100%.
No. I don't think so.
With the icky thump and all that shit.
It was always supposed to be darker. Because even the DC guys I know, they're like, oh, the DC movies are darker. They're more gritty. They're more real. And I was like, fucking the Who? Like none of that shit was real to me. But they got off on that. Oh, this isn't your daddy's DC. And so I watch it now and I'm just like, dude, it's those guys I know. I guess the fanboys that hit maybe the fucking Reddit are there, but the guys I know, they're a fucking small group. You look at them, their kids aren't going to go see those movies, but their kids will go see a fucking Marvel movie in a heartbeat because it's fucking tailored for them. And then guess what? They're going to drag their happy little DC asses there and going to sit there and bitch and whine about it. But their kids are going to want a Captain America t-shirt. Yeah. They're going to want all that stuff because it's tailored to them. And then as a kid, dude, I've been trying to rewatch a lot of the old Marvel stuff going up. Now, some of the old stuff, it holds up okay. I see now why you hate Iron Man 3 so much now. I rewatched it. Garbage. But for the most part, dude, I started realizing how brilliant Marvel is. Like, dude, no one has ever done this. Like, you can watch Doctor Strange and it's all about the supernatural aspects of the Marvel universe. You watch Guardians of the Galaxy, it's the the
space opera.
The space portion. You watch Cap, it's this old history. You watch Iron Man, it's the man building the future. You watch the Hulk, it's science going on. And I'm like, Jesus, dude, this is just brilliant. You're bringing all these aspects into one world, into one movie, and then you're just fucking jizzing it out. And I'm looking at DC and I'm like, dude, they have none of that ready. They're just like, like I said, reacting. Marvel did this, we got to do this.
You called this years ago in one of our podcasts where you were like, they're trying to do the opposite of Marvel. Instead of doing all of your seed movies and you build up to Avengers, you're trying to do Justice League and Batman vs Superman are let's just bring them all together real quick and then we're going to spread them out. But then you have to make that movie perfect because now now the Flash movie.
They've tainted everything.
If people didn't like this movie, they're not going to want to go see the Flash movie. Now, if people didn't like this movie, they're not going to give a shit about the Aquaman movie. If people didn't like this movie, they're not going to give a shit about the Cyborg movie. That's why you play. That's why you do the little ones first. Because if you have a bomb, it can be picked up by the other good. Like Thor was okay, but it gets picked up because Iron Man is there and Captain America's
and
there.
And people forget the weak link in the Marvel first Marvel stuff. Well, besides Hulk, was Captain America. You know, that was the one that they couldn't figure. They didn't think they were going to be able to get over in international territories. It was the first one that did okay, but it didn't do Thor numbers by far. You know, Captain America didn't blow up until Winter Soldier. But again, that's what you had the opportunity. You could do a Captain America, the first Avenger,
and just get it out there.
And then you could go do the Winter Soldier. These are very different movies, very different feels.
Spy movie.
Yeah, because you were able to continue to carry the whole franchise through the other movies.
But see, that's why I personally get offended when people are like, well, Marvel's a cookie cutter. And I'm like, what kind of fucking cookies do you eat, dude? Because you can find, you want a heist
Marvel
movie?
has a formula for sure.
Oh, no.
They're very formulaic.
But that's a formula for all movies, dude. Like,
that's not an insult. I know you've used it as an insult. It's not an insult. The Marvel
all movies
formula,
have a formula, dude. It's like your first, second, and third act. If you fucking gonna go first, last act, your movie sucks ass. You have to do act. If you want to watch a heist movie, go watch Ant-Man. I mean, they have something so everyone can walk in, find a movie they like, and like, okay, I like that. I had a friend. She saw nothing of Marvel. I saw Ragnarok with her, and she asked me, "Are they all like this?" I said, "No." She goes, "Oh man," she fucking knew nothing of Thor, dude. I had to explain all this shit to her, which annoyed the shit out of me. She's like, "Well, what is this and this and this and this?" And I'm like, "Well, if you want, I have the other two, and you can watch." She's like, "Well, no, explain it to me." Now she wants to go back and watch them because I keep telling her, "Don't watch the Thor movie.
Go watch Guardians."
Yeah, I was like, I told her like to go watch them, but she's like, "Are they all like comedies?" I said, "No. If you want to spy, well, we can go watch Winter Soldier or Heist." And I try to explain like or Supernatural. I explain like there's different movies out there. Pick which one you want. But I love the fact that I could do that.
Thor 1 was pretty funny. Thor 1 had a lot of
it was very comedic.
Fish out of water.
Yeah,
funny
it's
stuff.
Shakespearean, but I wasn't a huge fan.
What are you talking about? Shakespeare?
Wait, they talk like Shakespearean characters.
No, I'm talking about when he's in the
bumbling
town
around doing physical comedy for a big chunk of the movie.
He gets hit by a truck. And
I guess. Yeah, I mean it's okay.
I am Thor, and then they inject him in the needle. Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, it's true. But I haven't. It's been a while since I've seen. But dude, Ragnarok I think is just perfect, and it's just Marvel. I'm just scared about the next Avenger movies. Like that's scary.
Well, I mean, we're getting way off into
I don't want to talk about it.
The point is that Marvel, while they have a formula and there's rigidity to that formula, they're painting outside the margins a lot more now. They as long as they keep that base spine available, they can kind of work their way out from that and do crazier shit. Like Ragnarok is still crazy. You know, Ragnarok goes into all kinds of nutty areas. Guardians 2 went into all kinds of nutty areas. All these movies are getting a little bit more fantastic. I mean, even Captain America 3, it was Avengers 2
Captain America 2.
and
Captain America 2. They made a freaking spy drama.
I still remember. I remember in the theater when he told him that Winter Soldier killed his parents. I remember fucking your reaction. Dude, you gasped.
How about Hail Hydra in Cap 2 when freaking I mean
Gary Shandling's character?
Yeah, when Gary Shandling says Hail Hydra, everybody's like, whoa! Yeah. Like I mean they I don't know why we're even talking about this.
No.
But again, it's to say, okay, yeah, great, there's a formula, but what does it have to do with each movie individually? I still think individually they can be taken at their own and be good.
Yeah,
because they let their directors and do their own.
And honestly,
damn thing.
I wish DC would take that part of Marvel and say, look, okay, we fucked up all this stuff. Let's do a Lobo movie, an outer space Lobo movie.
I kind of because you were talking about what's the reaction. I think that's they already anticipated problems, and I think that's the course they're taking. I think that's why they're talking about let's do a Martin Scorsese Joker movie. You know, I think that they're kind of going, and I'm not saying I want to see that movie at all. I'm not a Joker fan, obviously, but there are Joker fans out there. I think that they're recognizing that they need to decentralize the DCU. They need to go back to do something like what they used to do with the old Superman and Batman movies, where they kind of take it a movie at a time, and they would, if they're going to apply auteur theory, which is something that they were trying to do very early on with Nolan and with Snyder, they can't all be part of a one central continuity. You got to have to be able to go nuts. They need to develop characters beyond Superman and Batman, which is the problem that DC's had for 40 fucking years now, 50 fucking years almost. And I think that's what they're going to do. Is you're going to see the Harley Quinn movie, and you're going to see a Joker movie, and you're going to maybe see a Lobo movie, and you're going to see them go a little nuttier. I guarantee you're going to see a fucking Batman movie. So
is a Suicide Squad 2 going to like bleed into this part of the DCU, or are they going to try to say, well, that's like outside the fringe?
I think that there was a plan. I don't think there's a plan anymore.
I don't think there's a plan. That's what I'm saying. I think a lot of what this movie did in the box office was going to determine what the plan was, and I don't think they have any clue. I don't think. So
they don't have like a Kevin Feige there to say this is the playbook. This is what we're going to do down the line.
No, my understanding is they're pushing Jeff Johns more. That Johns will have a little bit more oversight of the movies going forward.
But this movie's going to be the guys who wanted the Snyder stuff are going to say, I told you so, right? So how do they react?
I think the only way to go forward from this that safely, which is, I think they're looking for something like that, you just don't worry about making the next Justice League movie. You don't worry about making the next Batman versus Superman, even maybe necessarily a Superman movie. I think that they're going to go, okay, well, we're going to just do a Batman movie, and the Batman movie will be more to your liking because it'll be closer to the Nolan type things with Matt Reeves doing a more Nolan-esque type movie, and it's just going to be its own thing, and it's going to be Batman versus Deathstroke, and it's going to be totally going to give you guys boners, and you'll be happy with that, and now we're going to be over here doing something completely fucking different. And I honestly think that might be the reason why we didn't have Green Lantern in this movie, is I think that that's their next thing where it's like, they're just going to do a whole other thing over here with Green Lantern, if they're going to do anything with, just like kind of, we're over here now. We're working on this over here. We're not worried about any of this other shit.
So they're not gonna,
we don't care about how any of this shit connects. We're telling our story over here, and we've got a great writer, and we've got a great director, and they're going to do great work, and you guys like Wonder Woman, so Patty Jenkins is going to come back, give you another Wonder Woman movie in the meantime, and I think Flash goes away. I kind of think Cyborg maybe goes away, and I think they're going to wait for a project. They're going to take it as a project by project thing, and they'll have loose continuity between them, but I think that they're just going to kind of go back to their original Alter Theory idea where we're going to get strong talent, and we're going to let them do what they want to do with this, and we're going to stop trying to micromanage them because that shit ain't working. We're not Marvel.
That to me makes sense. Yeah. That would be a smart play.
So then,
and that's Warner Brothers' philosophy too. Because that's been part of the problem with these movies is Warner Brothers is not a company.
No. They're trying to do Harry Potter again. They got that hardcore Harry Potter money.
They need a hit.
They wanted that Harry Potter. We need that 8 movie lineup, and they all link up, and fucking the fans are going to come every fucking Christmas and just make it rain money.
But guess what? That didn't work out that great. That last Harry Potter didn't do super great, and I don't think this next one's going to do all that great either. I think
you mean the new ones?
Yeah, I think
there's 5 of those fucking.
Warner Brothers,
Battle of the Beasts or whatever was the last one. Or whatever?
Warner Brothers had a great hot streak there where they had the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and all this shit was going on. And then when they didn't have that anymore, I think they got scared and they tried to be Disney. And Disney is great at the assembly line. Disney has always been great at the assembly line, and Marvel is part of Disney, and they are assembly line movies as well, and they do that well. But you gotta understand, it's not like the studios are different. You know, they're built differently. They're put together differently. And Warner Brothers was always defined by their talent. They were a studio where A-list talent would be given a bunch of money to do the kind of movie they wanted to do, and as long as it was commercial, they would secure them their money, and they would get to kind of do the thing they want to do. And the movies that they got big hits off of, like Lord of the Rings, well, they had a great source material, and they had a great talent in Peter Jackson, and so that hit. With the Harry Potter movies, they had J.K. Rowling as the spine for all that stuff. Everybody loved those fucking books that was going to see the movies, and so it was creatively driven. And they tried to do like Marvel, where it's concept driven, property driven, and they're not good at it. And if they're smart, and I think that they are smart enough to realize this at this point, I think that's why we've got such vague plans now, is they recognize they were trying to do something that they're not good at, and they're fucking hemorrhaging money, and so they're going to go, look, we're good at talent. We're a talent company. We're going to go to talent, and we're going to say, hey, talent, do you want to do something cool with fucking Lobo or whatever the fuck? I don't know why we keep going back to Lobo, because based on Loa.
Because if Ragnarok had been a Lobo movie, it would have been really awesome also.
Yeah.
Right?
But
if you would have had Jason Momoa in Ragnarok as Lobo on a bizarre battle planet, how great would that have been?
I think what happens is they find like fucking Guillermo del Toro, or they're like, hey, dude, would you like to do a Sandman movie?
No, he's already doing an Aquaman movie with.
No, he's doing the Creature from the Black Lagoon movie.
Well, actually, me and Fryho said that's actually Ape Sapien from Hellboy.
Yeah.
Since Mike Mignola took away his Hellboy toys, he's like, fuck you, I'm gonna make a Hellboy movie again,
right?
Without you even knowing it. So,
right. I got my Ape Sapien movie. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's what they do. I think they go back to talent, and they marry talent to properties, and they're going to have some spectacular failures again, but I think that it'll still be better than what they were trying to do, which is Marvel Light.
I thought we determined they were not. This is Marvel Light.
No, that's what I'm saying. They've learned that they don't do that well, so they're going to do the Auteur's thing again.
Oh, okay. I think they're in trouble. I think all these movies are not going to be good, and they're going to slowly get worse and worse and worse at the box office.
But I don't
with the occasional Wonder Woman style hit.
Yeah.
But that's just, I don't think I think the pipeline is broken. I don't think they're going to push things through this pipeline anymore. I don't think that pipeline is, it's fucking, they blew up the pipeline.
No, they are. They're totally, they wouldn't have had the stinger in this movie, man. They're going to fight the Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
So when they have a Batman movie, and when Batman's fighting Deathstroke, they're going to reference the gathering of the Legion of Doom.
Right, but that's a much more amorphous concept, because you've got two villains set up. They already kind of know they want to do Deathstroke. I think Matt Reeves has already said, "Oh, I'll go and do the Deathstroke movie." Still, I think that's the villain he's still going to use. So those are the only two villains they've got, and then they can kind of be loose from there. If Patty Jenkins wants to do a fucking fucking Cheetah movie next time, then Cheetah's going to be in the Legion of Doom. And if not, then they'll do something else, but
Solomon Grundy.
it's loose. It's loose, and it can be a little bit more improvisational, where before I think it was too rigid and too micromanaged.
So they're going to go.
They're still
so they're
going to
go
have
full Marvel. They're going to go full Marvel instead of Marvel Light.
No, I think they're going to go back to their original idea of being anti-Marvel, but without the Christopher Nolan oppressive tone.
To me, that sounds full Marvel, letting dudes do their own thing, and
But it's more like Marvel now.
and sprinkling in.
Well, no, dude, Marvel built their base. They built a foundation with those first movies, and now they tell directors, do some. Like, give us something different, because they got the foundation.
And that's the other thing. I think they're saying after the Infinity War movies that these movies may not even be slightly connected.
Yeah.
Like that they're not even guaranteeing there is a continuity.
More organically, I think, is the intention.
So I just think for a movie I came out of saying, hey, you know what, that wasn't that bad. I do also recognize that this movie puts their universe in question more than ever. Instead of that, it wasn't good and did what they were intending.
It's not the Hail Mary they were maybe hoping it would be.
No, what happened was that the ball was intercepted and there was an entertaining play. As the other team ran it back.
Frank knew that term.
As the other, right. So instead of the Hail Mary being caught for a touchdown, the other team caught it and it ran back a very amusing run back for a touchdown, which entertained me, but it was definitely not the result they were looking for.
Yeah.
In your face with that sports analogy.
Hey, I give Frank points for that, dude.
It was terrible though. It was terrible.
Yeah.
No, it was alright. But anyway, so that's where I think.
Where's that leave us at?
Bum, bum, bum.
How long was that? I don't know, but I thought it was pretty good.
Well, he's doing like the Super Marvel superheroes, so now we're doing like the Super Friends.
2 hours and 10 minutes.
2 hours.
I'm not editing fuck all for the most part.
I don't think there
Just
was
take
much.
one part out for me.
We don't care if people get offended.
I have returned to serve you, madams and sirs. The Facebooks were frequented by Derek William Crabb, Michael Siskoid Albert, Grant Richter and Joe Crawford. Matt Eve wrote there of the Wonder Woman movie discussion. Wow. Feistiness levels of this chat are off the charts. We commanded the Twitter attentions of the 108th Sage, Alligator Fuge House, Alibots, Anya, Anything Tyra, Avatar of the Green, Bill Beer, Blue Girl, Bone Dragon Comics, Brent Rikins, Brody's Kitchen, Chris Sheehan, Chris Thompson, Coffee and Comics Blog, Columbus Comics Corner, Comic Reflections, Comics in the Golden Age, Darren and Ruth Sutherland, DCU Movie Page, Dmitry Pimenov, Drive, G, Nodologist, Enigo Montoya, Gaston Perjol, Gord Tolton, Jake and Tom Conker, James Hudson, Janella Dubois, Jeffrey Brown, John D. Knoll, Joe Crawford, Justice's First Dawn, Keith G. Baker, Leonardo M. Montero, Mario at Luther Lang, Mark Danvers, Maxwell Amiss, Mean, Patricia Barragas, Paul K. Bison, Peyton Prestgrove, Punch Like a Girl, Randy Caldwell, R. Robert Speculum Fight, Ryan Daly, Sassy Animal, Satin Tights Podcast, Silver and Gold Podcast, Siskoid, Sanok Tulu, Terence Castongwai, Tony Asaro, Tony Wolf, Traveling With Us, Trekker Talk, Warlord Worlds, Wonder Woman Warrior for Peace Podcast, Xenozoic Xenophiles, and Xaverpatx. Justice's First Dawn twittered, Rolled Spine is a wonder, talking about Wonder Woman. Trekker Talk tweeted, Diabolu Frank, Illegal Machine and Mr. Fixit are talking about Wonder Woman on the latest episode of Rolled Spine. The 108th Sage texted, I literally cannot wait for that cast. Dr. Andrew announced, can't wait. Martin Gray signaled, Hola. May your Kanga ride ever be smooth. And finally, Ryan Daly offered, good discussion, despite pointless tangent comparing Captain America's weak-ass howling commandos to Wonder Woman's weak-ass mercenaries. And everybody knows that you're in trouble. Everybody knows what you've been through. From the bloody cross on top of Calvary, to the beach of Malibu. Everybody knows it's coming apart. Take one last look at this sacred heart, before it blows. And everybody knows. If that will be all, I bid you, good day.
The preceding program is a non-profit fan production. Any copyrighted materials contained therein are believed borrowed under fair use with no copyright infringement intended. Please feel free to leave comments at Rolled Spine's Productions WordPress blog. You can also send us Twitter comments through the Rolled Spine Podcast Twitter. Thank you for listening.